That's it. Water, black coffee.
Right
I
on.
cut out the Monster. I call all the Monster Energy drinks.
Did you? Were you drinking those a lot?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How
I
many?
used to put them in my little, my jug. At
Oh,
least
no
one a
shit.
day, 16 ounces. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Fuck that. I stopped it.
I don't like those monsters.
This is my first coffee in 3 days.
My buddy tried to get me. I drank one of those monsters. I liked the taste of it. It was good.
Oh yeah.
I drank another monster.
Which flavor?
The green one.
See, I get the sugar free. Not that that's that much better, but yeah.
Well, after drinking like
I like the lemonade.
3 monsters in about 3 hours.
Yeah.
I crashed hard.
Oh, I got
fucking
mad. I never
hard.
You took 3
I drank
16-ounce
three
monsters?
16-ounce
That's
monsters
a
in
lot
about
of
3
caffeine.
hours. I crashed hard, dude.
Oh, I'm sure.
I drank them at lunch,
Takes your
and
blood pressure
by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I had nothing. I was done. That's why I don't really like those monsters. I prefer the 5-hour energies because
You might as well take an Adderall.
you don't crash off the 5-hour energies. And when you drink 3 monsters, you're fucking just you can't. You literally you're out of energy after it goes away. The crash is what I'm talking about. You don't get that from 5 hours. Even when they're gone, you don't feel like that.
What are you doing?
Just fucking with your camera. Check 1, 2. Anybody here? Hey, ready? First. Couple first.
Already?
Well, I already thought he was first. Or she. I've never been for real sure. Can you hear me?
This is a she.
I can't hear you.
Weird.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can't hear. No, I can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear anybody.
Or myself.
Blow, blow, Seminole wind. Yep, blow like you're never gonna blow again. I'm gonna treat you like a long lost friend. You know that one, Armand?
No, I know. Blow,
Check
harsh
one,
wind.
check one.
Thou art not as.
Seminole.
No, thou art
It's
not
John
as
Anderson. It's 90s country. I've been on a
Shakespeare.
kick lately.
King Lear.
Also that John Deere Green, you know that one?
Check 1. This is not right. Something's wrong here.
In letters 3 feet high, he wrote Billy Bob Love Charlene in John Deere Green.
Not my.
Really?
Not my genre.
Off now. There it is.
Check 1. Check.
Oh,
This isn't right.
summer
Something's
There's a
not
little
right here.
reverb here.
Yeah, we're picking up extra from somewhere. Maybe another.
Is that what it is?
I feel like.
Hold on.
Low audio. Yes, you're right.
There's nobody to play with me.
Is there some big thing this week?
Fuck. What?
Esports or something this week, like a $5 million.
There might be a League of Legends tournament or
Whatever, some
Yeah, that's
tournament,
about
a
the
real
only
big one.
that's
Is
about
that
the
better
only one.
stream? I don't think it is.
What?
Hold on.
Frank says our audio is low. I believe he's right.
Check 1, 2.
Daniel can't believe we're on time.
Treat you like a long lost friend. Alright, Travis Tritt,
Check
you know who that
1, 2.
is?
Yeah, I know.
It's a great day
I don't know
to
what's-
be alive.
What's the quote I'm trying to think?
Check.
Low blows
Check.
out, win or win.
Check.
Thou art not as
Check.
harsh as a child's ingratitude.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell you're talking
It's from
about.
King Lear.
King Lear?
Yes. Shakespeare.
Shakespeare, huh? You assumed I didn't know that?
I guess. Who were King Lear's 3 daughters?
I never read it. I just know the story was by There it was.
Yeah, you pop.
I never read it. I just know the story was by Shakespeare.
3 daughters?
Whose? King Lear's? Not a chance, no. But I knew
Goneril, Cordelia.
Gonorrhea?
Goneril. Close. Cordelia, Goneril, and
Syphilis.
no. Don't be like that. Cordelia, Goneril.
Chlamydia.
I think that's better.
Yeah, it's way better.
This is way better.
I'm just pretty high. I'm like high. Not
Like your levels?
Can't
Yes.
believe this. My God.
All right, hold on.
You know who's actually a pretty good King Lear? Stacy Keach.
Oh,
I saw him play
Sergeant
King.
Stadenko.
Yeah.
Cheech and Chong.
And Mike Hammer.
Shoot the moon!
Yeah, he was actually a good King Lear.
Was he? Stacy Keach, what else has he been in? The only things I really
Regan.
know him from
Regan.
Cheech
R-E-G-A-N.
and Chong and one other thing, and I can't remember.
Goneril, Regan, Cordelia.
gonorrhea, Regan.
Cordelia.
That shirt. All right, Chad. How's that? How's that
Live
sound?
chat.
Sounds like sound better?
It
Yes,
still
much
says
better.
Surreal
Check 1,
Talk and
2.
racism, and it says updates
God.
and hello.
Damn it.
You didn't change the hashtags
No,
or the.
no, I didn't. I'm a big piece of shit anymore. I don't know if anybody's aware of that. I think most of you are aware of that.
I think
The
we've
ones that really know me.
I think we've established your turtitude.
Turtitude. I like that.
If
To coin the phrase.
You may have it.
I've got Turtitude.
How do you do the chat on an Android phone? If anybody in the
Where's your laptop?
it's at home. I forgot it today.
I have an extra, but it's going to do you no good because the wireless doesn't work.
Oh well, yeah, there you go.
Never mind.
What do you mean? I'm getting Wi-Fi right now. Oh, the wireless on the laptop.
Yeah, that's one of the problems with it. Okay, we'll give it a couple more minutes. Let's see. Let's change this shit here. We're just going to call it Media Influence. That's such a dry title. How about... No, I had a title. What was it? The media made me do it.
Yeah. Mike Wallace ain't got no gun.
Today on Surreal Talk.
We got Danielle.
Everett.
I can't see. You can see that, Armand?
Yeah, is that Jared Schwartz?
It is.
Jared?
Schwann's, actually.
Schwann's, okay. Ortiz.
Jordan Heiza.
Russell Burns.
Who else? I know Frank's up on board. There he is.
Who says that? Jordan, I'm on the app, dude. Look, check it out. Oh, fuck, my phone locked. What are you going to do? So I'm on the YouTube app right there.
Maddie?
I just got to figure out how to live chat. Report. I'm going to report this video.
Did I just get a text message? I did. Oh, yeah.
You're reading your copy here. Oh, these are very interesting.
Well, now what in the hell? Maybe full screen it. Then there's something for chat. Maybe.
Are you signed in? All you got to do is get signed in, I think.
Of course I'm signed in.
Are you on the app or on the webpage?
On the app.
Try the webpage.
Yes. He just said in the chat that I had to use the app.
Oh. We're getting our signals crossed. Hey, Russell, fuck Eric. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you.
Do we have voice
It's a tab
emails today?
next to the up and
No, we
down
did those
buttons.
last time. Were you in the
Yeah,
show?
I did. I loved it.
Let me check and see if we got any more real quick. Oh, not that side of speed.
I love listening to hearing our listeners. They're great.
Oh, shit. Thank you.
No, nothing new.
Jordan, thank you.
What do you say?
Told me how to do the live chat.
Oh. Hey guys, trucking it up in Illinois today. We're fucking it up in Illinois today, so we got that in common.
Oh, guys, a trucker
Tanner
driving
Bueller.
through Illinois?
I'm guessing so.
Stop by. Say hello.
Just made an account. Pretty cool website. Thanks, Maddie. We invented YouTube. That was us.
That's Al Gore.
So thanks for stopping by.
What's the matter with
No,
you?
he invented the internet. We took.
That's right.
We made YouTube ourselves.
Oh,
that was
okay, that's
America.
right.
And Armand came in on the tail end, but he's got you.
Yeah, I
we still gave him
wish.
30%.
Oh, what a dream that would be.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
How do I start a GoFundMe page?
Go to GoFundMe.com and
All right.
hit start campaign.
I need it. I'm broke.
That fucking you get wiped out still from all the stock shit. You still
Well,
haven't recovered.
how do you not get wiped out?
Did you sell out just to get out of it, or are you going to try to
No,
wait for a rebound?
no, I have options. They expired.
I don't know what
Expired
that
and
means.
worthless.
Oh, thanks, Tanner.
Yeah, $100,000.
Holy
for it.
shit.
We just made $4.99. Thanks, Tanner.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you.
Armand gets
How much do I get?
30% of that.
Thank you.
30.
I'll take it.
Let's
I
go
mean,
17.
We'll probably never.
cents.
We'll probably never get it.
17%. I mean, I would
So-
say.
You're getting 30% of nothing, Armand.
All right. Even that I'll take.
Yeah, buddy, and I'll give it to you proudly.
But anyway, thanks, Tanner. Appreciate it.
We'll go live here in a couple minutes. We got 26 people online. Thanks
Well,
everybody
let's go
for
live
showing
now.
up. Hold on, man.
I think you guys will do okay if you stick to Wednesdays and you're on time. And
So yeah, we talked about the other day. We just got tired of like being kind of preempted by the Ocho Man show. Love him and all, but we needed to be a little bit more.
It was hard to be consistent with
Right.
yeah,
following him on.
Wow, you are hotter than shit.
I told you that's the way he loves this mic, man.
only on Saturday when you guys were on Saturdays.
Saturdays
Yeah.
we were super consistent. We
course,
didn't, yeah. Keep going. Should be good. What do you think, Armand? Does it sound good?
Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah.
I
It
think
was
so.
it was super hot though.
Yeah. What is Mines? What the hell is that?
What?
www.athomehydroponic.
Mines.
Wonder what that is.
Where's that at?
Fuck Eric.
I
Hey,
meant mines.
right on.
He meant mines.
Who said that?
Another one.
I love him. Hunter. Oh, Hunter. Thank you.
Hunter of the Dank.
Wednesdays
Great
are
name,
much better
too.
than Fridays. Wednesdays are perfect. I mean, that's what we're doing it. We're doing it on Wednesdays now. Damn, surprised to see all the fuck Erics today.
I assume Hunter's a man. Huh? You never know.
Hunter of the Dank. No. He's
Thanks,
a hunter
Brian.
of the Dank.
Oh, I get it.
Dank
well, that
means
still doesn't necessarily mean a
marijuana.
Smart
man.
man. Sometimes things go over his head though.
You never know.
Check one. Am I about even with you guys? I feel
When
like.
does the new show
yeah,
start?
it's-
I think
What
so.
new show?
Oh, you must be talking about
Your
the.
new show.
We don't.
Oh.
We don't. We're not gonna like talk about that show so much on here, and that show's not gonna talk about this show.
Yeah. So those shows are kind of separate,
Yeah.
and it's crazy that. Did you tell people we have a new show coming out?
I think we mentioned it.
Oh, did
What's
we?
up, AJ? Oh, we got AJ. She's coming on. Holy
oh,
shit.
I was afraid of this.
Oh no, this is awesome.
Here
I gotta
comes.
retool everything. Just a second. Be right back.
Uh-oh. Here
We
comes
had to
an
get another
argument.
perspective on this one.
Yes.
What's your shirt say?
It says humankind be both.
Oh,
I get it.
snap! Got him.
I get
We
it.
gotta get you a camera.
I
too.
think that's impossible. That's an oxymoron.
That's what he's doing is making sure you have everything good. You're all right. That's fine.
Like, oh,
See, you're just guessed.
yeah, just guess.
Everett, we should have a. Oh, it's probably right here.
Oh.
I can use this one.
There you go.
That one, though.
You really don't have to put the
Are we
camera on.
tangled up here?
Oh yeah, you get the camera.
No.
You get the camera, and you're gonna like it.
You gotta like it.
Let's see. I don't know which one I got.
I gotta plug it in. Hang on.
Same one. It is the same one.
You ever listen to country music, AJ?
No,
No.
I don't. Nothing against it necessarily, but.
Is that blue? Is this blue?
Oh,
Yep,
there
there
she
it
is, Miss America.
Here she
There you go.
Miss America.
You see your. There we see. Now he's no. There you go.
This is awesome.
Wow.
Fresh
A
fish.
quartet. Have you ever been on this show?
No, I've been on this
You'll despise it. Don't worry. You won't come back.
No, I think maybe I have been on one of your guys' This
This is Surreal Talk, yeah.
I've been on Surreal Talk.
Which one did we do? No, I think you were on the Ocho Man show.
Yeah, I've been on the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
a couple times.
Great. Let me get the chat up and going here.
Luar is in the house. What's up, Luar?
Hey, Laura. Yeah.
Luar says he's Team AJ.
No, he's
Swear to God.
not.
That's what he
Luar's
said.
on my team.
Jordan Hedge says, Everett, since the Blues Pod is a lineup media, do you know Darren Kimball and Jamie Rivers? Yeah. Yes.
I know Darren Kimball. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in here all the time.
They're in.
like yesterday.
Yeah, they're in here all the time.
You got Jamie Rivers too?
I'm not a hockey
I
guy,
met him.
but I assume those are
Y-
blues players.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
This mic is not on. Okay.
Blah,
Try
blah,
now.
blah,
Yeah.
ASMR.
Chris Breezy says, sounds like something Armand would say. You get the camera and you're going to like it.
That's right. With accompanying slaps.
All right, we ready?
Just about.
You know what we're talking about today, AJ?
Something about media.
We are talking about the media. Media's influence.
She's gonna go noteless.
Society
You don't-
and...
I'm gonna go noteless, I guess,
No, I
because I
can-
had no. Yeah.
I can get you.
You don't have the handout.
I'll get you one printed.
It's okay.
You're in the copier.
Huh?
Oh my God, you guys, do not even make this a thing. I feel bad.
It's totally a thing now.
It does not have to be a thing.
She's ruined everything.
You asked me, and then I fell asleep.
Oh,
on
that's
the
the way it
couch.
went. I asked you. I could swear you were begging me.
Oh my God, every day of my life. Always begging Everett for something.
Copy link. We're going to put this on the book, boys and girl.
Ah,
You
there.
can call me a boy,
Luar
it's
came to
okay.
his senses.
Team Armand. We already knew that.
Of course he is.
I don't blame him. I'm Team Armand.
Team AJ. You do have somebody, Jessica Hunter.
You guys.
Jessica
Let's not
Hunter.
even. Let's not even
I
be
thought she was Team
teams.
Everett.
Like we're all together
No,
here.
we're not.
We're all together.
Not at
Oh,
all.
it's a contest.
Right.
I'm gonna lose because I'm not prepared.
a
I'm just here
competition.
to like throw something in the mix. I don't really know
That's
what
true.
we're
gonna
even.
throw in some shit that
What are you going to lose?
Throw it in. I'm gonna lose the debate. I
We're not
think.
oh, no. It's,
No.
it's not about winning or losing. It's about how loud you can yell. You didn't
Then
know that?
why other
Right.
teams?
Try to interrupt as much as possible, drown out
That
the
I can
other.
do. That I can do.
Right. That's how you win on this show.
Well then, I'm a winner. Call me a winner.
Where's Ocho? He over sexualizes women. Well, you got that
Yeah,
right, Luar.
true. Who said
Yes,
this?
he does.
Who said
I-
this?
Luar
Wait,
did.
and Armand doesn't?
Yeah,
I
no,
feel
not
you.
of me. The utmost respect.
Where are you guys seeing these
right
comments
here.
at?
So you can, if you have your phone on you, you can turn on the live chat.
No, I don't. I don't have my phone or my glasses.
But we have it right there.
Chivalrous
Okay.
to a fault.
Who?
Me.
Chivalrous. Maybe
That's
I
right.
don't know what chivalrous means.
Thanks,
anymore.
Boom. All right.
Throwing my hoodie back on. 'cause I'm hot
Luar
in the
was
world to do
Guar said that Ocho Man over-sexualizes women,
True.
and there have been no dissenting opinions.
So, agreed.
He's like, yeah, I do.
Yes.
I do.
He like embraces that though, you know.
I don't care what anybody says. He's an asshole, but he's our asshole, and I'll fight with him to the death.
I guess Jessica's
Yes.
talking about Ocho Man. He's like the creepy uncle.
Oh, Ocho Man, that's fair. Or
I
you.
think
I should be talking about you.
could
You're like a
be.
creepy uncle.
You think so?
Uh-huh, he's like
Nah,
creepy
You're the
uncle.
creepy uncle I never had but wanted.
I might be the creepy grandfather now.
Oh,
I'm
Armand.
older than
That
Ocho
shit's still
Man.
too loud.
Mine?
Is she?
All of it.
All of
Is
it?
she?
Yeah, fuck it.
Is the woman too loud? Lower her
Yes.
microphone. Hurry up. You can hear her.
The lady
Silence
doth,
the woman.
the lady doth protest it too much, methinks.
He's at work.
What do you think this is? You know, progressive
Quality?
Surreal Talk? Hell no, this is 1950 Surreal Talk.
Check 1, 2. Oh, that's
kidding.
better.
Give
We're
her
there.
two bits
Okay.
of volume and that's it.
All right, here we
Like
go.
madman.
I really hate that there's cameras and I look like this right now, but whatever.
I look like shit every day.
No, you don't.
It'll be fine.
Stop it. Stop it. Don't be
See, Armand, right?
self-deprecating.
That's true.
I do not. Okay.
You're listening to Surreal Talk, a look inside the
Still
world
loud.
of cults, conspiracies, and the paranormal.
This is the
Something's not right, man. Something's not right. Something's bullshit here, and I don't believe it.
Honestly, this crazy shit could be completely possible.
Disclaimer, we reserve the right to be wrong, ladies and gentlemen.
That's true.
You think you know the whole story? Think again.
Now your hosts, Eric and Everett.
Welcome to Surreal Talk, a look inside the world of cults, conspiracies, and the paranormal, a lineupmedia.fm production, and we are back with some consistency this week.
Well, it's the first time you can't really call it consistent.
Is it
after
not
one.
consistent? We said we were going to be here at a certain time, and we're here on that day and time.
Right. Frank was astounded that you guys were on time, actually.
I mean,
Made a
he's
comment about that.
yeah.
Who's
I mean,
Frank?
Frank Reynolds, one of our listeners.
Oh, okay.
Better
Sorry,
recognize.
Frank.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Stalwart listener.
Sorry, buddy.
Frank is one of our oldest and dearest listeners.
Nice.
I'm not saying he's old, but
He
he's
looks
been
like-
with us for a
But you've
while.
had him
kind
for
of
a
like
long
Danny
time.
DeVito.
Not that Frank Riddles. We've been over this. We've been over this.
He has a toe knife.
So we were on the other day. We did a quick little show. It was pretty fun. It was me, Eric. I believe Armand was there. Was
There,
Were you
yes.
there, Armand?
Yes.
Where we announced
Show
this whole
about
Wednesday thing.
Nothing. Yeah.
We still don't know what day we're going to release the show. I might have Brian edit it up when we release it today. Maybe we wait till Monday. That's the kind of planning we get here. So
Consistency
consistency is
is key.
key.
That's right.
Yeah.
Consistently inconsistent. Very well
Oh,
spoken.
before we get out any further, we got a shout out. Bobby Murphy, he asked us to give him a shout out. He's a longtime listener. And
What's
we'll
up,
shout
Bobby
out.
Murphy?
What's up, Bobby? How you
Bobby.
doing?
And was it, this guy had wanted us to shout his kid out too, though, right?
I don't think it's the same guy. I would have had that written down here.
All right. Well, if it is, then Bobby Murphy's kid. What's up?
Nice.
If you don't have any kids, sorry.
And before we get into the main meat of the show, too, let's kind of talk about the last show we did, the systemic racism in America and the fallout we got from that.
Yeah, the fallout was pretty rough from the racism show.
Why?
Well, first and foremost, the downloads, like right off the bat, the name, just having systemic racism in the title must have turned about half of our listeners off.
Yeah,
'cause
I mean, immediate half downloads.
I roll. I'm rolling my eyes right now.
No,
I feel the
true,
same
though.
way.
Seriously.
And on top of that, there's so much inflammatory action on our Facebook group, people back and forth with
I've
each
had to
other.
boot 2 people, I think, and you did 1.
Right, and me and Eric are both getting nasty messages from people pissed off about it.
Oh yeah.
What were they pissed off about? The fact that we have it? Because
Yeah,
I'm
it's
pissed
a
off
waste
about
of
that
time.
too.
It's
you
a
know?
waste of
Systemic
time.
racism
This isn't the
bad.
type of topics we should be doing. There's no such thing as white privilege. And then they just started getting real personal after that.
Yeah. It wasn't very nice.
No.
The guy told me functionally retarded. I'm functionally retarded.
Our show's been
That's what
going
he
down
said.
for a while, which is funny. The week before that, he was Team Everett all the way.
Okay,
and-
but can I say something?
what's that? It has been going down. I know.
When you incite such a reaction, you typically know you're doing something right. Okay?
Well, I mean,
Well,
that
that's
could
what
be.
I told the guy down
Honestly,
through the messenger. I'm
it's
like,
this is obviously important enough to get you so hyped up,
The guy goes-
and someone has to talk about it. It's a fucking real thing. Can I say the fuck?
You can say
Yeah,
whatever.
we can say
the
whatever
fuck
you
It's a
want.
On this
fucking
show,
real
yes.
thing,
the
man.
guy was
Yeah.
like, well, you said it yourself. Your downloads were down by half. Why the hell would you even do that? I'm like, look, if the people that didn't download the show were racists, okay,
bye.
then we don't need them
Well,
anyway.
let's put it like this: our download numbers are nowhere near honestly monetizable. So, and we don't plan to make a major amount of money. So the topics aren't about bringing in listeners, which a little bit they are, but
Well,
they're
it's
mostly
about-
about what we think we should be
Yeah.
talking about.
Exactly. Exactly.
We saw something that was some bullshit. Marissa wanted to talk about it with us. Marissa's a longtime listener, been with us forever.
Nice.
She has her own podcast. She came up and was like, "Hey, would you guys like to do this podcast?" We're like, "Fuck yeah, let's do it. Come on, we'll do it."
Yeah.
And well, it turned out to be a good idea in our opinion and a bad idea in a bunch of listeners' opinions. But if you can't handle it, sorry. Hopefully you stuck around to this episode and you can hear me calling you a moron.
Today I was at lunch with one of my friends.
Not
Not
a
to cut you
moron.
off, but I was at lunch with some of my friends from work or whatever, and we got into this conversation about what is reality versus truth versus fact. And we were talking about astrology versus religion and all kinds of things. And it ended up being a good conversation. But before the conversation continued on, I had to stop this person who was getting, maybe getting upset or whatever and say, like, yo, like, we should be able to have these kinds of conversations, and we don't have to agree. We don't have to see eye to eye, but this is real. This is deep. This is serious. And like, we should be able to have those kind of conversations because they matter. And if that makes people uncomfortable, well, guess what? Out of discomfort comes the greatest amount of growth. So if your listeners felt uncomfortable, at least they heard something that might help them shift their mentality later on the road.
If only one did, it was probably worth the time.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. So fuck it.
Well, and that's what I told Marissa too. I said, we're going to say things today on the show out of ignorance that we don't know if it's true or not. And I said, don't take this offensively. I said, but I'm kind of trying to come from the general white man perspective as to why.
You have that's your perspective.
Exactly. and I said, if I say something that's stereotypical or even offensive, let me know and tell me why, so that way I know not to make that mistake again. I said, because I don't intend
it's a learning moment.
I said, I don't intend, and that was cool. But that was cool about it because we were all under the impression, look, nobody's trying to hurt. We're really, literally trying to have a discussion, and we had it, and it was a good time.
In between, us three, I think just talking through that subject, just actually saying the words and making them audible makes you realize, what I mean, makes you actually alter your thought process instead of just being like, yeah, that's the way it is in your mind. But to say it out loud, really.
And to be honest with you, as a woman of color, when white men stand up and talk about these issues, it's so powerful and important in our society because you guys do have the larger voice and the larger platform. So when you use that platform for good, like some people might be offended, but those that aren't, like that, those are people that are going to stick with you guys for a very, very, very long time because it's respectable. You know what I mean? It's your responsibility as white men in society to do these things, and you took that responsibility on, and you're willing to lose listeners, I guess, and that's what happens. And
I'm right there with you, and I kind of feel like to the people who said it's off topic for what we do, systemic racism is the definition of a conspiracy. The holding down of race or a race or races, or you couple that right up with the holding down of women and the whole women's suffrage movement. It's all a conspiracy, people. It's people working behind closed doors.
Because it helps.
Did you hear him just say "you people"?
You
people. And that's all right though.
No, I know what you mean by conspiracy. It's like it's real. It's not something we can't. I don't think that anybody could logically argue that racism doesn't exist. So it's a real thing. It's a true thing. It's a factual thing that happens in the United States, specifically if we're talking about the United States. And
it may not affect everybody, and the people who don't think white privilege is a thing, racism probably doesn't affect you as viscerally as most people.
It affects everybody. Yeah, but not viscerally. Exactly. Like, you might not see it.
But it's real. Just because you don't experience it doesn't mean it's not real for a lot of people. So any which way. The media made me do it. Let's go ahead and seg right into the show today. That kind of works with it, though.
Where'd you come up with the title?
Yeah, Armand's like, shut the fuck up,
I've
AJ.
already stated my
he's been through this 3 or 4 times. He's done with it.
Sure.
Now, this works great with that, though. Social media, for instance, and the way social media is top of mind for everybody these days. You can't go anywhere without somebody with their phone in their face, be it Instagram, Facebook, Twitter.
YouTube live chat.
Sure. Podcasts. That's not social media. But any which way.
It's not.
I guess
not.
It kind of.
I guess
it's only really generally one way.
Yeah,
like we do
true,
it in a
that's
certain
true.
way where it's kind of 2-way, but for the
That's
most
true.
part, once you're of size, 2-way doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense.
But think about it. When you're on Facebook, the amount of there's an effect called the echo chamber effect that you'll see. Like when you're on Facebook, you follow all the shows that you like, you follow the political people you like, all of your interests are represented, all of your friends that you communicate with on a relatively often enough. They talk about the same stuff you talk about. So you're not, for the most part, being challenged or exposed to other ideas or thought processes. You're getting the same stuff you already know about, the same stuff you see every day, bounced around in 10, 15, 20 different flavors, but it's all the same. That's a real problem with social media.
That is definitely a real problem. That's something I've talked about with my friends and even on Facebook. I make it a point to not delete people unless it's like gotten to a point where it's unhealthy for us to be interacting in any way, shape, or form. But for the most part, like, it's so important that if you're going to use social media as a platform to communicate your opinions, that you are welcome and open to other opinions. Like, what's the point? Exactly. It's like this echo thing. What'd you say?
The echo chamber effect.
Echo chamber. Yeah, and it's a shame.
Most
really.
people shut you down immediately for differing opinions on Facebook,
Right,
especially.
you can block out any opinions that you don't
you just
feel
not? I
the
mean,
same with. You
there's
know?
nothing so empowering as unfollowing somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, I love doing that.
I do too.
I generally don't unfriend. I will
and
unfollow
the deaf
people.
kid getting the hearing for the first time are
deleted
my
80
two
friends
favorite
2
things
days.
to watch.
I know that and any
'em.
baby video.
Yeah, they get with the
Any
glasses
baby
on the
video.
kid or whatever.
Where they
and
get the
he's-
They say
cochlear
color for the
implants.
first time.
Yeah.
The cochlear implants ones get me every time.
Right,
Yeah.
those are really good.
Or
yeah.
the dudes coming home from the military with the
That's a
wife
good
and the
one,
kids at the
yeah.
airport.
Do you know what's been getting me lately?
man.
I seriously laid on my
That's
bed.
a tearjerker.
TMI, got my period over the weekend and was
Me
like
too.
super fucking emotional all weekend. And I sat on my bed for 2 hours, doors closed, watching videos of parents revealing to their parents that they're pregnant and just sobbing. And for 2 hours, I opened my door and my husband's like, "What the fuck were you doing in there? Why are you crying?" And I was just like, "I need you to impregnate me right now."
Oh my God.
That's a perfect example of media
Facebook,
influence.
yeah.
Media influence.
But
Because I do not want children, dude. I do not want them. But like, it was watching those videos for so long. I was just
Facebook
like,
shows you a few
I have to
videos.
have a baby.
But that's one of
And
those indirect. It's not like you turned on the news and they chose for you to see and what you to think about. This is you went looking for it and got influenced on accident.
I did. I stared at it and I was like, Zach, put a baby in me,
That's
or I'll kill you.
danger right there. You know what I mean?
Their husband.
And you'll see that.
my husband, yeah.
That's right there with
Stipulated.
conspiracy stuff, though. The stuff that we see all the time. People have trouble not being affected at such, again, a visceral level by watching
Right.
these videos. They affect you emotionally, and that's the big deal with social media
Yeah.
and media in general, is how it affects your emotions and gets you
yeah.
to start thinking non-rationally.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, people sit on Instagram and they post something, right? It's like a thing, right? They've been studying this, like the level of depression that people are experiencing when things aren't being liked right away. Not people are watching your videos. Like, I mean, your dopamine and it like decreases. You know what I mean? It
Oh, yeah.
physically affects the way that you exist and perceive yourself and the world. Like, all because you didn't get enough likes within like 20
Well,
minutes.
instant feedback, right? You want
Yeah.
that instant positive.
You need it.
gratification,
Constant,
right.
instant gratification, you know? I mean, I'm guilty of it. If I post something and people aren't watching it, I'll delete it. I'm like, fuck, I'm a fucking idiot. I shouldn't have posted this. No one likes it. Like, you know,
Really? I've never-
sometimes, like, there are moments where social media gives me a lot of confidence, or I'm just having a confident day and I don't give a fuck what anyone thinks. I'll just post whatever. And you guys see me on Facebook. I'm a pretty,
You post fairly regularly.
yeah, and I'm very political, and I'm like, I'm pretty confident in my opinions most of the time. But then there's times where I'm just like, you know, I have no friends and nobody likes me and no one cares about my Facebook or my Instagram, and I look like an idiot anyway, and I should just delete all that stuff. And it really affects my
Sorry to laugh at
self-esteem.
you, but-
Those are the period times too, right?
You-
No, that's just like
Oh.
a regular day,
You
man.
stupid emotional woman.
Yeah, you feeble-minded woman. That's just real.
I kind of don't. I'm not good at social media, to be honest with you. I barely ever post, and when I do, it's two things. It's a picture of my kid
Yeah,
that I'm either tagged in or I purposely posted like once or twice a year,
right.
or a retweet for something for work related.
Yeah.
I am so bad at. I don't get the purpose of it though. I don't. That dopamine thing you're talking about. I don't get it when I post something. I never got to that point.
Last night, I ended up on Kylie Jenner's Instagram. I don't know how or why, but I was there. I don't follow her. I just was there. And I was just scrolling through her pictures for like an hour before I fell asleep. And I had this like overwhelming anxiety, like this pulling on my chest, because I was like, they're so fucking rich and I'm never going to have things that they have, and all she did was just have to be born, and like all these things were just like rushing through my mind, and it was just because I was looking at these people and comparing my life to theirs, and then I was like reminding myself like, yo, you're educated, you're happy, you're healthy, you're loved, like little, you know.
That's what you got to do. You have
gotta
to
do
constantly
that.
check yourself.
But
we
it's like,
used
why
to
do
just say haters gonna hate.
Yeah, I'm a hater, bro. I'm a hater sometimes. For real, I'm
but then
jealous.
You can go to the sites where they show those people with no arms, or the one
Exactly.
that have cancer,
Exactly.
the terminal patients. if
There's
you
the
wanna-
balance.
Right. You'll feel better.
Maybe it's just me, but I think we're becoming a generation of haters.
Haters and comparing ourselves to the max, man. Like,
Yeah.
you validate who you are based on how people perceive you.
Well,
Instead
it's a
of,
culture of envy, unfortunately.
it really is. I don't want to be like that. I'm really trying to actively put my phone down more when I am conscious of it, and like remember that I am who I am and I'm proud of who I am, and everyone has their stories and whatever, you know. But it's hard, and it's like, it's real. The depression is real. People feel it way harder than I do, you know. I mean, I'm for the most part pretty confident. I feel like all of us are pretty confident people.
Do you think I think that's worse in people that have a real social anxiety, like social anxiety,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So I think that social media really gets them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I have a friend that unless he's drinking, he doesn't really want to even talk to anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like that just
I'm that
so
way.
antisocial.
There's the opposite
you know what I mean?
spectrum, though, where people who find themselves more antisocial within reality have found communities within the matrix of the computer.
No, that's true. Like Redditors, for instance.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
There's
Redditors
a
are
whole
perfect
fucking
Your
thing.
neckbeards, for instance, you sit around in their mother's basement and love them, but they
Yeah.
sit down there and they tell you how bad you are at everything and how good they are, and they've never talked to anybody.
There's a communities for these things. I mean, so you
Nothing
you
wrong
might
with it.
feel loneliness and you might compare yourself and whatever.
I
this
have
and
a
that.
technical question, though. Maybe you guys can
Yeah.
answer. Most of them I don't even
No, you
know
don't.
Liar.
on Facebook.
Yeah.
okay, okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
and they don't even. I'm sure they don't know me either. Is there some sort of filter on the messages you get from people? Because I know I only get from a
Yes.
very certain amount of people.
Again, that's the echo chamber effect.
Okay.
So
How does that work?
when you're scrolling down your Facebook and you do any kind of action, from hitting like on somebody's picture to just slowing down on a picture or taking the time to read something, it notices where you're
Oh my
at,
God,
how
so
long you've been,
creepy.
and as it builds its algorithm about you, it knows what you're interested in. It knows the stuff you've taken the time. So whenever next time you load up, it looks at your history and builds you a new timeline every time based upon what your most recent activity is. So if your cousin Anthony or whatever, you've been talking to him a lot, you're going to see more of his updates. If you don't talk, like Eric, you haven't talked to him in forever, and he posts something, or if he posts, say, 10 things in a day, you might only see 2 of them.
The majority of the time I hit most recent so that I can literally see everyone's shit.
But you won't, though. That's the thing. Even if you hit most recent, think about how many friends you have on Facebook. You got to be close to 500 or so, right?
Nah, not after
anymore.
my recent.
Either which way, still
Not
several
after the
hundred.
racial episode, no.
You'd still be inundated with posts you couldn't keep up with that many people.
400 people.
I'm sure of it. Think of even if half of those are
Right.
active,
Right.
and an active person posts 2 to 3 times a day, you're talking 800 posts a day.
Is
you're
that
gonna
normal? 2 to 3 times a day?
I would say for an active person, yeah.
I'd say once every 2 days is about what I do.
Well, for you, yeah,
Yeah, but that's not typical.
But are they filtered out completely? Because I know
can
I
go to
have
the-
friends I've
You
never
can
even
go to
heard
their
from.
Yeah, you can go to their page and say see first, or make them a close
okay.
friend, or what do they call that?
the same thing with
Acquaintances.
Instagram too. Now you have
And
to
you will see their stuff more.
So what are the biggest types of things you see on social media these days that people are getting influenced by? Political news, for one.
for
Yeah.
sure.
That's probably the biggest thing that's going to start most of your fights. But that's another great example of the echo chamber. Whenever you've stopped on something about Trump's wall or Bernie Sanders this or that with marijuana news or whatever, that's what you're going to see
Marijuana, yeah.
again. But you have to realize whenever you're seeing this, they're showing it to you for a reason, because there's an ad on the side of that page, or the person on the other side of that article has a reason to write that article and make you read it and
What's
want
it
you to
called,
read it.
ad targeting or something like that?
Well, no, that for Facebook, their reasoning is money, and it's almost all media. It boils down to money or power, which is getting a message across, basically. So that you have to always remember that when you're scrolling down your page and you see something, even if it's your friend who's giving you this political message, realize that they've probably been influenced in the same way you're trying to avoid, and look at that from the top down.
Well, it's a
is my advice.
compounding action. You know, so
Exactly
you know
right.
what I'm
It's
saying?
reinforcement. of it,
Exactly.
Of course, that's what it is.
So what are the different methods of media that can influence you? Obviously, newspaper, television,
Not as
What
much
about
newspaper anymore.
Radio.
Who reads
Yeah.
newspaper anymore?
I sometimes read The Advantage, that newspaper.
Sure.
That
It
one.
Did you know
comes
Surreal
every
Talk
Wednesday.
was featured in The Advantage last
Was
year's
it?
Halloween edition? Yes, it was.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I'll read if I'm not gonna say I frequently read a newspaper, but
Hey, Eric, move your cup.
I
What?
You're obscuring
My
your
bad.
beautiful features.
Oh, is that right?
Sorry.
Well, I mean, my background's in literature, so I love written word, and I make it a point to try and seek that out as much as I can. But for the most part, yeah, definitely articles on the internet, number one, over news on the TV or whatever.
What about the radio? Like on the way into work, you
I
hear?
never listen to the radio.
So radio itself, that's difficult unless you stop on talk radio.
Yeah.
I mean, you might.
Every radio station
Jessica
has.
wants you to move the cup back.
Everybody's a comedian.
Yes.
But how does
That's funny.
KC, for instance,
Because they
influence
give you news updates in between songs and stuff like that.
That's
Whenever it's
fair.
not like
So
a rock block.
Somebody's picking that.
Exactly, somebody's picking that. There's an agenda there somewhere
But
behind.
say like KC, you're listening and it's got Learn on it. She's reading the news. Generally, she picks those stories. You know what I mean? That's their block of time that they pick, and they got to fill that time up. And,
You don't
we're
think
doing
those
the
same
news.
stories don't come back on again at 5 o'clock in the afternoon by a different DJ?
Doubt it.
What do you guys?
So
what's
what
your
he's saying
argument
is
here?
he's saying that the DJ gets to pick what news they talk about on the radio.
at least like say a rock DJ, you know, when they're filling their 4-hour block or whatever, and they've got their newswire service that their radio station pays for. They're going to look through it, look on the internet for instant.
There you go. So
And
if
they're
they're
gonna-
paying for a newswire service, the radio station's paying for the newswire service. Don't you think the next DJ on shift's going to use the newswire service?
You know how many stories come across the wire though? Thousands.
Yeah, but I'm sure there's a boss there. What's it?
Yeah, but they're gonna
director of content.
They're gonna
We
pick
even
that
have one of those
content
here.
based on the theme of their show, right? Like
well,
they're not
they're
gonna
gonna
tell.
base that content based on
Do the
what they
DJs
wanna
actually-
talk about.
I don't
Yeah.
think-
Really?
I don't know.
I have
I've never.
Sirius, so I don't.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
when I
they
listened
don't
to
do-
88.1, which was like 88.1 and NPR are the only things I've listened to on the radio. But I don't really hear news from
Now is
anybody.
NPR? You'd say that's left leaning, wouldn't you? I don't
NPR?
listen to it. Yeah.
I would
I
say
mean,
that, yes.
I think most conservatives would say that, and I think that I would agree to a certain degree. But I think that NPR does a pretty okay job of trying to bring in opinions from all sides and talk about things from all perspectives. But yeah, I mean,
I'm interested. How would you define right and left?
fuck.
Because I've gone over this with Tony before.
Left and right.
We try to No, you're wrong.
I mean,
I'm telling you, this is left.
honestly, first of all,
I
I'm gonna
disagree.
say like putting anything into a binary is a dangerous game.
I know. I mean,
right?
It's
So
not a categorical statement. but
yeah.
just-
So I mean, you know,
Republican and Democrat.
I mean,
okay,
yeah.
what does that mean?
Well, not even because I would be considered like far left, and I'm not a Democrat. Like I'm not.
They're too conservative
Refuse to
for
be
you.
labeled.
Yeah,
I
don't know-
usually
well,
lean left on most issues, but I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. you know what I
Exactly,
mean?
because
What
like,
do you mean
okay,
by lean left?
so
Lean the way
like-
you-
That's
like
what
you
I'm
have
trying
more
to
liberal ideologies. Like I'm pro-choice. But I'm also like small government, which is more Republican.
Which is
thing.
more- yeah.
Exactly,
We're all,
so, like,
I'm on board with that one.
I'm
I believe a
not-
woman should be
I'm-
able to choose what she wants to do
Exactly,
with her own body.
Until when, though?
Until whenever the
we
fuck
decided.
she decides.
The last day. The day of
Anytime.
delivery.
Listen, for
Okay.
reasons that are like serious. Like if this child will be born like if a stillborn is gonna be if the child has no chance of
What if
survival.
the child's going to kill the mother for sure?
Exactly. If
She's
the
gonna make
mother
that
has no
choice.
chance of survival. Like if it's something very, very, very serious, like I think that choice should be up to her. But obviously, I'm not like, hey, if you decide you don't want to be a parent anymore and it's the last week of
Right.
your pregnancy, like no,
or you're having
fuck that. But-
depression, something
I
like
mean,
that.
sure. But
Why
also,
isn't anybody
I
else's
say,
choice though?
Exactly. I
Why are
say
you
fuck
taking that
that,
from
but
me?
it's not my choice. Like, even though it's not something I would do, like it's not like people who are pro-choice are like pro-abortion. They're not like, yeah, everyone have an abortion. It's
Right.
just
How
like
about that? I'm not sure I agree with that.
I don't.
what's your thoughts?
I mean, some
I
people.
think they are pro-abortion. I mean, some people, and they justify
Listen.
by saying their population's too high already. We
Exactly.
should bring more people in.
I'm not saying I
If
would
that's your
ever
position, that's
have an
different.
abortion. Like if my wife got pregnant for any reason, I'm not saying we would ever have an abortion. Or
Okay,
consider
but
it.
if I got pregnant and I was like, I feel guilty that I don't want to bring this child into the world.
That
because
is
it's so,
your-
exactly.
your
It's my
choice.
right. Like, it's
But
my
wouldn't
right.
you make that decision during the first trimester? It would take you
You would
6, 8
hope.
months.
You
That's
would
That's
hope.
all I'm saying.
You know, you
maybe
would
she's
hope.
mentally ill, or maybe she had a family problem or something, and her mind changed. Minds change. Once you can make a
Onset
decision.
yeah,
schizophrenia
but once
could
you
have
say
set in. You know,
if you have that
know.
population argument, when you say, well, we have too many old people too, let's get rid of them.
Okay.
That's
Where
a
does
whole
it
other
end?
conversation.
Well, I
man.
don't
Wait.
think it is.
No, I'm
You're
good with that.
justifying the same thing.
Or people that can't see.
No, the real
Right.
question is, when does
Right.
the state step in to say this is a child that we have to
Exactly.
protect, like
When
if it's
is-
already born?
Exactly. When
Okay,
is a
okay.
child a human being? That's all.
If you can shoot a
I
pregnant
think
mother
w-
and get charged with double homicide, how is it okay to abort on the last day?
Listen, what I said was it's okay to abort when situations call for it, such as extreme, like
I agree.
Well, I just
sickness
read a paper.
or death.
Oh, no, I agree.
talked to Eric about this paper I read by this gynecologist who actually had done 1,200 abortions also, and it's his. And this guy's an expert, board certified, etc. And he said that there has never been any abortion, situation where the woman's is in danger has a dangerous pregnancy, where it's always better to deliver the child.
Yeah.
It's never better to have the abortion. That's even more dangerous to the woman.
Yeah,
Is it?
abortions aren't safe. You have to-
Exactly. It's
that's,
not an
that's an
innocuous
argument for
procedure.
the woman too, though. It's like if I've gotten to the point where I'm willing to put myself in danger, then there's a very serious reason why I need to have this abortion. And at the end of the day,
No, you should have the
It's my
delivery.
choice, or the delivery, or
Right.
whatever it is. But that's an induced delivery, and some can say
Right,
that's
exactly. And it
considered
has its
an
own
abortion.
risks,
Could you-
but the
could
risks
you
are
argue
always
that
more with the abortion, according to this guy.
Anytime that baby could be born, can be born, even if it's premature but could still live, I would say that you
That's a viable human being in
I
my
would say
book.
at that point, yeah.
Yeah, but okay.
But again, it
see, this
hasn't
is what's
been
so
born.
funny to me is that
But
we
it's still not my
value
choice.
we value human life,
Yes.
when it's still in the womb. We're not valuing human life when it's already like out in existence in the world, and it's so hypocritical.
I
'cause
saw
it's
that
like,
meme because it's like you
well, it's
don't.
not even a meme. It's like an argument I've been talking about for a while. But yeah, there's a meme about it
Well,
too,
how do you
for
mean
sure.
that? What do you mean?
We let children die in Palestine every single day. We allow poor children to go hungry in this country every single day. We don't adopt children that need to be taken into homes. We don't take care of the children on this planet right now. And then we're going to talk about protecting the rights of a child that hasn't even been born yet. Like, it's not. I'm not disagreeing that every life,
Well,
every living
I wouldn't
thing.
confine that just to
So-
children, though. I mean, adults are
Sure,
starving
but
everywhere.
okay,
and
but we're
then
not talking about adults.
just
though.
had
We're
an
Well,
talking
epiphany.
we're
about
talking about human life.
human life. Exactly.
Old people are being allowed to die.
Are you
et cetera,
guys
and then-
arguing about this because the media influenced you to care about this decision? And I wouldn't say so much
No,
care
I
about it
would
because you
say-
care about
Well,
it
I wouldn't know
anyway.
about it if it wasn't for the media.
There we
I
go.
know about it because I have a personal experience with it.
It made it hot.
You know?
But I'm
So
saying, but the
But I'm
media
talking about
recently
Cuomo. I
made
brought it
this
up
a
because
hot
of-
button topic.
Right, because Cuomo had and the Virginia.
You asked why right and
Government.
left exactly.
Right.
These are one of the things that define right versus left. You know, I mean,
Well, I mean, it's axiomatic that the right, these are evangelists.
Right.
What do they call them?
Televangelist?
Not that's Jimmy Swagger.
Joel Osteen?
you guys leaving?
Well, go ahead. We don't need you.
Yeah, you guys just leave.
What, you think
Honestly,
you own the
Armand and I
show?
got this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But the party of science would be the Democrats, etc. I
Right.
disagree with that completely. You know me, my background is
Yeah,
is
and that's
scientific.
why it's so dangerous to have binaries in that way, because like I said, I have left leaning ideas. There are some things that you can consider right, like in terms, like I said, small government. But at the end of the day,
Well, but all I'm saying is, to me, right. I mean, it's implied that a rightist is like Hitler, a fascist, Mussolini, Hitler.
I don't think that.
to me, what's implied about
What is
right,
right then? Jack Boots and the government running everything, right?
No.
With force. Well, what is a rightist to you then?
That doesn't mean that to me. What
That's
it
what I'm
means to me,
asking you
it
then.
just means like Republican. You're very conservative. You're Christian. You have a strong background.
Hey, no,
Is
no, no.
that
I don't
what it
want to say
implies to you?
Christian. No, because
No.
I know Christians who are, because see, this is dangerous, right? When we start labeling
Stereotyping, yeah.
Christians as right, because then people believe they should associate certain parts of Christianity with certain ideologies I don't agree with. And I grew up, my family is Arab. I grew up going to Catholic school my whole life. I've been exposed to various religions. Christianity is beautiful. Islam is beautiful. They're all beautiful. La 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 la. It's the culture, right? There's a culture, I think, behind the right versus the left.
Don't you think media potentiates that, though? Media is trying to define us.
Yeah.
For sure.
Split us
That's
up.
all I
For
wanna say,
sure.
right.
It's much more profitable to sell newspapers when you can define sides of a war that doesn't
Exactly,
exist.
and it's
you know what
much
I
more
mean?
profitable. Like, this is the same thing that
And
happened
you're
in
going
the
to
Civil
pander
War.
to your side, right? Obviously.
This is what happens all over the world, right? The higher powers, the people who have the control, they create the issues amongst the people, so they're so distracted and trying to survive amongst each other that they can't turn and look at the actual problem, which
You
is.
sound like one of those damn conspiracy theorists now.
Oh.
So this
She's
is
on the right show.
There's a quote from
Stay in that seat.
a guy named Bernard Cohen in 1963. He said he observed that the press may not be successful much of the time in telling people what to think, but is stunningly successful in telling its readers what to think about. The world will look different to different people.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
It
that
When,
continued
yeah,
on.
but when was that quote?
1963 said, depending on the map that is drawn for them by the writers, editors, and the publishers, by the end of the day, it's going to look completely different to different people. So, I don't know. Makes sense to me.
Well, I think that was back in '63. I remember. Are you guys old enough to remember the Globe Democrat and the Post-Dispatch in St. Louis?
I remember.
One
Remember
was
the
predominantly Republican, one was Democrat, and then there's the Sun Times and the Tribune in Chicago.
Right, Chicago.
Every town of any medium to over 1 million, say, and medium by that I mean 100,000 maybe,
Right.
probably had 1 or 2 newspapers in that day, and everybody knew what their standing was. And,
Sure.
Right.
what
You had
they were.
your Democrat paper, your Republican
Exactly.
paper,
And
whatever.
that's died, I think, now.
So what are
But
some?
you saying this, I'm sorry, not to
No,
cut you
no,
off,
go ahead. What do you
but
got?
you saying this whole thing about media shaping what we look at, like what we talk about, is so important, right? Because we always see things like, hey, while you were focused on this, A, B, and C, and D were happening. And that's a reality, like they definitely pinpoint certain aspects of society, make us focus on those things, or guide us to focus on those things, so we're not looking at the bigger picture.
But I don't think they encourage you to think. I disagree with this guy. And maybe in '63 that was the case,
Right.
which happened to be the year I was born.
How many times have you talked about Trump's wall in the last 2 weeks?
Oh, absolutely. We've
So
talked
you-
about it
Exactly.
incessantly on our shows.
So you've thought about
is
that,
good.
and just constantly that's been on your mind. But it's also constantly been in every piece of media that you look at.
Yeah, but it's such an important topic because
Right.
it affects.
And causation isn't equal. It's not. I
so
mean,
many-
coincidence it
But-
could be, but because it's
Think
in the
about it like
news,
this.
I
feel
don't think they
like
tell you to think
What if you-
about it.
what
They
if
don't
a
give you
person
the facts
doesn't-
and say weigh them.
Everett,
These
this is
people give an
serious.
opinion.
Do you want that yellow starburst?
No, go ahead. Here, have them both.
I want one.
you gotta split these. Come on now.
Oops,
Think
sorry.
about people who live outside the news. Like, I barely ever watch the news. I don't
Sorry.
go to news websites.
Okay.
And I'm sure there's people who are less even news oriented than me who don't vote, who don't keep up
Oriented.
with it. That whatever. Who the wall doesn't mean shit to them. You know what I mean? It's a big topic for us, but it's a big topic because we see it in the news every day. We don't live on the
Exactly.
border.
That's what I'm
None of
saying.
us are necessarily Mexican or have Mexican relatives. So to us, generally, it's not a day-to-day problem. It's a problem to us because we see it on the news.
Don't
and
you
it's-
think that's why
it's
Trump
an
got
important
elected?
social issue,
But to be honest
obviously.
with you,
I
that's
think Trump
not
got
how I look at it.
elected because of that.
Honestly, I agree with that.
That's
number one.
63 million people
Number
right there
two,
that really consider it
What
important.
the wall symbolizes to me is more important than whether or not it's going to physically affect my ability. I mean, I'm not Hispanic.
I
I'm Arab.
I think that's true.
But the idea of how Americans are perceiving immigration, how they're dealing with immigration, that's what the wall symbolizes.
I don't
to
disagree
me.
with you there at all.
You know
but
what
I'm
I
just
mean?
saying it could have been anything that they decided
It
to
could
be
have
the
been
hot
anything,
topic.
but what it means and what it symbolizes is what's important.
It's definitely a definite social
Yeah.
impactor right now. Like that's the big social divide almost is that
Yeah.
wall right now.
But the media also keeps stories with
Suppressed.
having or suppressed or having legs. The stories they want to keep
Oh, yeah.
pounding away, they will.
yeah.
What about the assertions that people like George Soros or your the guy who runs who's the big
Tom Steyer,
yeah, any of
Soros,
these guys
all
like
those
that
guys, yeah.
who own these media conglomerates who
Rupert
can
Murdoch.
influence what stories get out and get made. How real do you think that is that these guys at the top actually at a ground level tell the New York fucking Times or whatever what to push out?
I don't know
or-
if they've got the power they
So-
once
so
had
hang
with
on.
all these
You think they used to,
alternative
though?
media. Yes, absolutely.
That's
Sure.
why
William
there's
Randolph Hearst, he ran the country basically. The Spanish-American War, that was his war.
All
Remember
done
the
by
Maine and all
basically-
that? That was him. Yellow journalism. I mean, he basically, that's got us into that war. He trumped up the whole Maine, and it's the Spaniards that did this. And,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's a perfect example of everything trumped it up. I hate to,
well,
Trump.
right. That may be the wrong verb, but that's what he did.
No, but it's exactly
But
right.
they don't have that kind of power,
the
I don't think,
po-
anymore.
Well,
They
maybe
did.
not a one person, but the media itself has the ability to latch on to any topic. Maybe not for a personal, like Hearst he had his personal reasons why he wanted it politically to go that way.
Mm-hmm.
But think about it this way: from a media conglomerates where they want to sell their stocks and have their stock go up,
Sure.
they'll latch on to any story that they think has legs, like you said before, that they can
But I
get.
think there's too much alternative media that they'll never have that kind of power because he literally ran Hearst newspapers.
Well, the
because
biggest
every
one,
main city
InfoWars,
had a
got
Hearst
shut down.
newspaper.
Right.
Google what media that George Soros owns, because it's not just that he's the owner of one brand
Well, look at
or brand
Bezos,
of media.
Jeff Bezos, he owns the Washington Post.
That's what I'm
He's
saying.
the richest man
That's
in the world.
exactly what I'm saying. And if Jeff Bezos, and he doesn't just own the Washington Post,
I don't know. He may own other. I'm not sure exactly.
radios, newspapers,
Amazon,
all
which
of this
is
stuff is
even
what
more,
I'm getting
right.
at is if they want to push a story, they're not just pushing it in one little aspect of it. The people that own
Or if they want to suppress
multiple
the story.
or they want to suppress the story, they will literally tell all the what does he own?
So he has ties to more than 30 mainstream news outlets,
Yeah.
including the New York
sense.
Times, the Washington Post, the AP, NBC, ABC. I mean, it goes on.
Was it Fox and CNN on there?
No, I'm sure they are.
Rupert
Yeah.
Murdoch is who that would
That's
be.
who it is.
Yeah,
Okay,
Rupert
But-
Murdoch.
Well, not
But what I'm
CNN.
getting
Ted
at is-
Turner used to own CNN. I
is-
guess it still
He
does.
sold
There,
it.
there are a handful of people, a literal handful of people, maybe 20, and George Soros, Rupert Murdoch being some of those, that are at the very top levels of all these and that own multiple outlets of media sources. So 20 people decide what you hear, see, think, read.
Well, Google.
And that's
I'd
your
all of
say-
free
that.
thinker.
I'd
Exactly. This
Google
is the thing.
Too.
Yeah,
Free-
Google's owned by somebody.
Google is a big. I'd say they have more
Do you
power
think-
than anybody else.
Do you think
Where
the
do you
search
go if you want
analytics
something?
are the same?
You go to
if you
Google,
type
right?
in PA
I go to
in
Google,
as they are
but
in
I
Yahoo?
also
Do you think the suggested search is the same? No, it's not the same.
No, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you an example
because-
of me. You know me. You know my bet noir. It's global warming.
Yeah.
Well, I used to go to global warming hoax, look it up on Google, and there would be articles in American Thinker and
Nobody ever heard of that rag. It sounds real
it's
reputable.
not a rag. Well, you should think about it. Think about the American Thinker.
Okay, I'll think
anyway,
about
but there are articles about how global warming's a hoax, and physicists are saying it. Now, if you go to global warming hoax, it tells you how screwy anybody who thinks it's a hoax is. And
Really?
that has changed within the last year or
That's
so.
what I'm saying. I
So
mean,
they've
people
totally
can
redirected
influence
where
you.
that search goes.
Well,
And that's a big influence.
That's a
on
lot
people.
of the stuff you'll see about
Not
like
me.
how
It's
people.
no,
un-
but that's
I'm
you're totally right.
influenced.
So think before Trump and
I'm too pig-headed.
before Trump came into office, who your general
Same.
conspiracy theorists were. Your gun-toting right wingers basically are the ones who would buy into that now, right? which is, if you think about it, and they were completely anti-government. Government
Yeah.
stay out of the fuck out of everything.
Right.
Now that Trump's in office, you'd be surprised these same people before that were conspiracy people will eat anything the government says up. You know what I mean?
About that.
Well, I'm not saying every one of them
Sure,
are.
but
I'm
I
making a
don't know.
generalization.
Yeah,
Well,
so
I know.
you're
But you'll see that.
What's your proof of that? I mean, why does
There's no proof.
you think
It's-
I
the
believe
proof is in
everything
the
Trump
pudding.
says?
I'm not saying
Yes.
every one of you.
I don't.
I'm saying
do.
a lot of the, I'm saying a lot of the people
I
who
believe
are
what makes sense.
who are your conspiracy-minded folk from before when Trump was in office, who were anti-government,
Right.
who were his main demographic. Now that he's in office, they're not looking completely at the government as the government's out to get you. They're looking at more like the government's out to help me. Trump's doing right. I need this
No,
wall.
I think what we're thinking is, and
I'm not saying
I count
Republicans.
myself among their number. I think what we're thinking is that Trump is trying to get the government out of our way. Less regulation, less taxation.
Do you think the less
interposing
EPA
government in every
regulations
aspect
are
Less
of our
good?
life.
taxation for who?
For who? Yeah,
For whom?
For
Everyone.
whom? Thank you.
everyone.
No.
You're an English major.
I know. I fucked it up all
Everyone.
the time. Every time. Who and whom is like my
Everyone.
worst.
Of course. I told you, $1,100 right off the top from that stupid Obamacare that I don't have to pay. Neither do you.
I know,
This
I'm
year.
glad.
Okay,
So
but I would
saved
rather pay.
$1,100.
Okay, listen. Honestly, this is the first year in my life I've ever had to pay back taxes to the federal government. I have
That's 'cause you haven't
never
been-
had to.
Right, we haven't been taking it out of your check. That's
Yes,
why.
I have. I was an instructor before this.
Well, you may be paying more because you live in Illinois.
I live in Illinois and I work in Illinois.
Okay,
so
that
it
may be
shouldn't
you may be more.
But I've lived in
But you
Illinois and
should
worked in
blame
Illinois
the
the whole
state.
time.
Why are you living in a high tax state?
I owe
That's why I
federal
keep
more.
asking
I owe,
myself.
I owe federal more than I owe state. I owe state like 100 something.
Yeah,
I owe-
but that's because you can't write off your Illinois state taxes, which are a lot of money. So yeah, you may be paying more.
I don't know. I
That's
have
why
to
Illinois
learn more
hates
about
it.
taxes
never
before I
paid
talk about it.
anything.
Honestly.
California,
Never
Illinois,
had
New
to
York,
owe.
these big state tax
you
places,
pay.
they may pay more.
Oh, I pay.
Yeah.
But it's the state's fault, not the federal. Well, the federal government too. Ideally, you have a value-added tax. If you buy a Porsche, you have a luxury tax or whatever. You pay 20% or whatever. Then everybody pays.
Yeah.
Cartel members, billionaires.
That sounds
everybody-
good to me.
Of course.
And that's what I want.
I wish I'm with you all 100%.
Okay. I honestly,
but we'll never get it,
honestly,
unfortunately.
I don't know much about taxes. I'm learning more and more as an adult as I grow up. You know, I'm only 27, guys. Throw that out there.
have
No, my
time.
God, no, I'm 28.
Rub it in.
I'm 28. I'm turning 29. Okay, it doesn't matter. Anyway,
You're over the hill.
bastard.
I'm fucking dying. All right. Anyways, but
Declining
it's,
years.
you know, these things are shaping my like the news I seek and the information that I look at and how I identify myself. It's like I'm starting. I guess I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I mean, the real life shit, the taxes and the economy, things I never really thought about.
Good, but that's good that you're
Yeah.
thinking about them.
Yeah, that's what's shaping my views. That's why I
If
say
the
I
media
can't.
closes your mind,
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all agree the media should open your mind.
Should.
Exactly. It
But-
should, but it doesn't.
No,
I
it
don't
shouldn't
think it
even
does
do
either.
that. It should. The media shouldn't even be responsible for opening your mind. All the media should do
Give the facts, right?
give
give
the facts.
or
Well,
give the
whose
perspective.
facts?
Yeah.
That's the
I
problem.
disagree.
Give the information.
Well, media is a business. Why should the
That's
media?
true.
Why should maybe the news should give the facts, but the media, on the other hand, it shouldn't.
Well,
it shouldn't
even
be
the
its
news.
responsibility.
So
to give the
if you're
facts.
not given facts, you shouldn't be covered under the freedom of
But
press.
news is media.
Fair.
News is media.
not
So if-
necessarily.
It
I
is.
mean, what about music?
That's
I mean-
media too.
But it's not news. I mean,
But news is okay. Not media is not news, but news is media. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I do get you there. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is we got to separate the fact that all media doesn't have to be the truth 100% of the time.
No, it
because
doesn't.
it's for
Because media
profit.
is
Okay,
media.
then how do you should the media be regulated then? Should Facebook be regulated?
No.
And I think that's the
In
big
what
question
way?
now.
In what
Well,
way?
that there's these quote fact checkers that
Yeah.
you can't just post
No.
anything. Well, I don't think so
I don't
either,
think it
but
should be
that's-
the responsibility. It should be the responsibility
But they
of
are-
the
I
consumer.
wish that people just did that, but when you put policies there, that's a dangerous game there
I
too.
agree.
You know? So I
Totally.
wish that we
Can't
just
regulate
had
a
fact
private
checkers,
corporation
but you can't
like that.
regulate the internet. It's not even about
But
the,
I
it's not even
think
about the
there's a
corporation.
difference though, because I mean I know newspapers are subject to libel laws, and that's what they
Yeah.
want with Facebook. So you can't get on there and say it's something about Obama or Trump or whatever. Because because they get subsidized like a paper, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's
They're
true.
getting a lot of money from the
Yes,
government.
they are.
So maybe I don't know if you're going to take money from the government.
let me
maybe
ask
it
you
should
this.
be
I don't know,
regulated.
something I have to think about more.
Well, that's
honestly.
I know.
I mean,
It's-
that's a good.
I'm
teeter-totter. Yeah.
believe me, I've grappled with it, and I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think
still
as a
can't
society,
come
we
a
need to get to the point
conclusion.
where we are responsible for our own consumption of media.
Absolutely.
And whenever you consume something, you should be responsible to make an
Okay,
educated
sure,
decision.
but then also as a society, do we not hold that responsibility up to the people that are regulating our society, like the government and these huge corporations? Like they should be responsible for their actions as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Do you
it's-
check though? I mean, if you read something
I'm
that's
an adult.
outlandish,
I
and
check everything.
Okay, you would
'Cause-
read
but
up
I
on
have
it.
a master's degree in literature. My job is to analyze text. That's what I do. So like that's my background. That's what I understand. But not everybody has it. So my 14-year-old cousin gets on the internet and she starts consuming all of these things and she's not. No one's checking it. There's no check. There's no balance. There's no nothing. Like that's.
Well,
not,
I think that's the problem with our populace more than the media.
I agree. I completely agree 100%. I don't think we're to the point now. We'll eventually get there. What's going on?
I don't know if we'll get there. I think we're getting. I think we're going the opposite direction. I think people are getting lazier and lazier.
That may well be, but I think if we want to truly evolve as a society, we might have to make it worse before we get better. People have to self-police. You can't. I don't think you can.
I agree with that, but we've never lived in a world where there's been this much information coming at us at the same time.
I don't think we should regulate it though.
Yeah.
You can't regulate information, but the corporations like Facebook and Instagram or whatever, like. They can have. I mean, like I said, I don't know how I feel yet, but I'm just working this out with you guys while we're talking.
No, that's what we're
But
here
I
for.
feel like maybe having policies that at least allow for things to be checked. I mean,
well, you used to be a teacher, right, AJ?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay.
I taught at.
Did they teach? They don't teach logic anymore, right? They don't
Yes,
teach.
they do. But it's
Really?
not.
To high school kids?
I taught college.
Okay.
I never
No,
taught high
I'm talking
school.
about a high
Yeah.
school education.
I don't know. I doubt they do. But
How
I
to
taught
think.
college
They didn't 20
level.
years ago.
I don't remember even.
I had the same argument
But
with
that
my
was my-
buddy about Common Core
That
math.
was my job for both, though. I mean, I taught composition, but English 101 is to teach you how to critically think. If you can't critically think about the world
In
around
English?
you, yeah, because
English 101. Wow.
English 101. If you cannot critically think about the world around you, you cannot write.
Well, I'm not sure
You
if
know?
people are being taught that. I mean,
I taught it pretty damn well, but
all right.
you
So
know,
what did
I'm
you
not a
use?
teacher anymore.
Syllogisms, the whole deal, the whole logic.
Yeah, we talked about logos and ethos and pathos. We talked about what rhetoric means and how to argue, how we had debates in class.
But I'm talking about logic. I mean,
logic,
okay.
real logic, like
Right,
philosophical,
Aristotle.
philosophical, logical arguments. You know,
I'm just
how to
wondering,
construct them,
in
and then
English
like
class. I mean,
Talk about propaganda.
because how can you can't write, you can't analyze if you can't think, right? So if I don't show you
so
guys,
how were the kids prepared for this?
no, fuck no. I had to
right.
strip everything they thought they knew and
that's
start
my
from
point.
the
That's
fresh.
my point.
Exactly.
Indoctrination, more or less?
They
They're
didn't
not
get
being
to
taught how to
start this
think.
shit. They didn't exactly. They're not being taught how to think until they go to college, and only if they have a good instructor. And I'm not tooting my own horn, but I'm a damn good instructor.
Did you?
All right.
Did you have
I
a
think I heard a
curriculum?
horn go off.
Did you have a curriculum you went by?
I mean, there's a syllabus.
So
you know
there's
what
stuff
I mean?
that you had to teach.
No, and college level, like no. There's in terms of like where
So
they
they let you give another degree to a person without
where they have
having-
to be with their writing is what I have to teach. What I use to get there is completely up to me.
Okay.
Like you have to be able to construct a argumentative essay by the time you leave my fucking
compare and
101,
contrast
you know?
things like that.
Sure,
Right?
you know, you have to be able to have a visual analysis. You have to be able to pick out things from the world around you, analyze it, and critique it. That's my job. But it's not like however I choose to get there. And I'm, you know, you guys know I'm very into.
Do you think the government wants kids to be stupid and not be able to think? Or do you think-
Yes, that's why No Child Left Behind is the
Absolutely.
worst fucking thing ever.
Let me ask you that.
I rest
ask
my.
you that
I agree with you
question
100%. I rest my case.
It's the worst thing ever.
But they're in charge of our education system.
Exactly,
What's
and
that,
that's what's
Everett?
so fucked up.
then. I was going to say, when you say the government wants this, what do you mean by that?
I
Who
mean
in the
exactly what I
government?
just said. It's
Who-
explicit.
No,
The government. I mean
it's not
the
explicit,
government.
it's
The
very
federal
broad.
government.
All of them?
Just
All
one
400,000.
federal
How
government.
many people work for
hold
the
on.
federal government? So they're all complacent and
The
want what
powers
you're
that
saying.
be. Yes.
See, that's a
Absolutely.
them, they, men behind
Not
the
everyone,
curtain.
no, but I think in general, the people. Well, let me put it
See,
this
that's
way.
a very scared statement to make. Whenever you're pointing at the men behind the curtain here, and to say the government in general, I hate when people say the government's
well,
out
yeah,
to get me
critical thinking
because
is-
it's you. There has
I
to
hate
be
those
a
comments.
people or a group behind it that's because the federal government isn't out to make people.
I'm not
stupid.
sure that even on this show, you know that. What's the difference between Republicans and Democrats? Not that much.
Not much.
I think. Well, I think
a label.
what they want,
Red and blue.
I'm talking about the people that want a global government. It's much easier to control people that are stupid.
Well, I would say those people there are
And that-
above
and that
are
goes
above
for
your
the
standard
EU
government
too.
people. Your senators, your
Yeah,
House
you
of Representatives
you
people.
can't group government all
I
together
can.
like that.
I
No, you
can
can't.
because
You're
we,
talking
we
about
just
a cabal.
established there's not that much of a difference between the Republicans and the Democrats, and I'm not saying there is.
No, you established that. We
I
didn't.
can-
We
we've
didn't.
talked
we
about
didn't
on this
establish
show.
that.
I would argue
There's a
that they
big
were,
difference
Read
between
the
them.
shirt, will you?
You're not wrong there.
Well,
That's
the
because
lies are the
Republicans and
same.
Democrats are pretty much the same. You're right
Absolutely.
there.
Well, there you
But
go.
what I would argue though is that Republicans, Democrats sit below the cabal you're talking about. They are
I
pawns
don't think
in
it's a cabal. Cabal implies something under, conspiratorial. This
That's
is
what I'm
actually
talking
this is
about. If
out
you're
there.
saying that the government
I don't
wants-
think it's that.
Your
one-
mailman's technically the government then.
No,
No, I'm talking about the legislators and the executive branch. I'm not
then-
talking about the postal
Then you
workers
say the legislators and the executive branch. You can't
and
say
the
entire
judiciary too.
government.
The entire government. Not necessarily government workers. I'm talking about people that have power in the government.
And
I'm
then
not talking
one
about the
of
guy
them-
that's a
every one of
janitor
them is-
at the Capitol. I'm talking about Pritzker.
Every one of those people is
All the people at the highest echelons, unfortunately. Governor of states.
Listen,
the Senate.
it is in the government, and the corporation is tied to the government.
Them too.
It's in
Absolutely.
their interest to keep people dumb. That's just
Absolutely.
like how it's always been, right? I mean,
I hope
higher
not,
powers.
but
Well, I'm
maybe-
saying
maybe.
higher powers want to keep the people ignorant, and
Absolutely.
they also want to keep it to where
'Cause they're controllable.
Exactly. How are you controllable? One, we make it to where you literally have to just like think about survival. We don't pay you enough. We don't help you enough. We don't do enough. So all you have is to just work your fucking ass off. You
I
don't
would
have
like to know how much of this is actually someone's plan out there that they're making this happen, because it sounds like
we live in a capitalistic society,
Right.
Right. So
Republican lies sound the same as Democrat lies. Somebody asked me what my shirt said. That's Surreal Talk garb.
So,
Yeah.
you know, the intention behind capitalism, right, is for people to be able to
Crony capitalism.
crony capitalism is to attain as much capital
Right.
as possible, and with money comes power, or vice versa, or they're connected, whatever. And with that power, in order to attain it and keep it and hold it, you have to keep people ignorant and complacent. And that's just kind of how it's been in
That's right.
most
Well,
large
remember-
civilizations, you know,
Right,
like
right.
that.
Pana et circenses,
Yeah.
right?
It's
Bread and
not-
circuses.
I get-
I'm not
what
saying
you're
every
saying, though.
single government official has
No,
those points
no.
of view, but government, large government, federal government, it exists because, like, it exists because we allow it, and it wants to continue to exist. And if we decide that we don't want it anymore, you know what I mean? Like,
there ain't
because
shit
we've-
we can do about it.
yeah,
Well, that's why. But the maintenance
Because
of
we
power
haven't
hinges
thought
on
about it,
people being
right.
ignorance
Exactly.
is a much better weapon than
And I get you. I completely agree. There's probably out there people that think about that, but I just, to make it so broad to say the government is like, I'm sure there are people that do it, but to say the government wants that is just, it's weird to
I get what
personify
you're
like that.
saying, but the government is the government, and we have.
That's
I mean,
true.
You know, we have people in the government now, and have always been, who are fighting for the rights of people. We've always
Exactly.
had that for sure.
they're losing.
But they're exactly. They're losing.
They're losing the
Right.
battle.
But
I would disagree. I'd say
We've
you guys
allowed
are just
our
not happy with
government-
the rate of progress.
we've allowed our government to become tied and connected to major corporations in the United States. And so what feeds the government's interests is what feeds those 1% interests, and what feeds their interest will never feed ours. So to keep us ignorant and complacent is in their benefit.
Now you're talking something I can understand. When you're talking about the lobbyists getting involved and the
Right.
corporations pushing the lobbyists
right.
to push the people
That's
to make the
what,
votes
and you
a
know
certain
what? When
ways.
we talk about government, that's what I think of.
No,
Lobbyists and
that's
corporations.
exactly what I wanna
like-
hear. Now,
but
that's what I'm talking-
that's but they are the government. They are connected to the
But
government.
that's
They-
not capitalism.
No, that's
Capitalism,
crony- like you say,
right,
that's crony capitalism.
Right.
Sure.
Capitalism's building a better mousetrap.
But it was capitalism that allowed for those loopholes to exist to happen in the
I
first
don't know
place.
about that.
It
I
was.
think it's government. It's government and the corporations
Sure.
getting in bed together.
Sure. And what allowed that though is a system that's in place, right? The system.
Well, stupidity and ignorance
Yeah.
definitely fosters that sort of thing because
Sure.
people don't know.
Sure.
And at the end of the day, too, you cannot. I was going to say this earlier. You cannot force an enlightenment. You know what I mean?
No.
You-
No,
no
you
matter
can't.
what kind of regulations you want to do to fact check stuff automatically, that's not going to do any good to people who are already set. Like that quote from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I'm an American. I'm set in my thoughts, and I'm dug in, and I'm not going to change. No
I
matter
don't
what.
have to change.
that.
I
Do
you
don't
think-
have
do you
to
agree
change
with-
mine.
do you
I'm
agree
not
with
gonna
that,
change
though?
mine.
No,
I
I don't.
don't that.
If you are not willing to have an open conversation, if you are not willing to let your mind be altered, if someone brings to you
New
good logic, then what's the fucking point?
Well,
of
that's what I'm
talking?
saying.
Even if
Though,
that's true
would
for
you agree
70
though that I mean, I think it's here again. It's axiomatic that right wing or the Republicans are usually. They're depicted as being the ones that they'll never believe that there's no such there's
They'll never think
there's
anything different.
evolution.
This is what we
right.
think, this is what we think,
It's
that's
everything's
it.
God, everything's
Right.
their guns, etc.
Right.
That's not wrong. You're a
well,
Republican, and you're a Republican, and you won't budge on climate change at
But
all.
you're a
Absolutely,
Republican,
but
but
I've
you don't
read
believe
about
in-
it. I'll read any article you have, and I'll
But-
give
but
it
my
the thought
point
it
is, you've
deserves.
You've been influenced by the media, Armand.
No, I haven't. I've been influenced by scientific papers that I read
Let's not even
every
get,
day.
Let's not even get to global warming, please. Let's not even do it. Like,
That's
let's not
right.
even
Please
do.
do.
It.
I'm all for
What's
it.
that, Everett?
I don't want to
I
do
don't
it.
even remember.
All our listeners love it
Sorry.
when I
It's okay.
rant about global warming. Okay.
This
But
is the Armand
Oh,
and
what
AJ show
I was gonna
today.
say, though, even though that 70% of the population is where we want to be, and they're enlightened, and they'll click that little fact checker, there's that 30% of the population that
yeah, but
gives
who
us a
checks the
random.
checkers, as we say?
Not my point. Even if the checkers are completely 100% right every time, and they're impartial to which side of the argument they're
Mm-hmm.
on, it doesn't matter. We cannot force these dug-in people to change their mind, to read this article and consider it.
Okay, but
we can't force enlightenment.
Well,
There's
I think
no
it
No,
way to
you
do it.
I think
can't.
it
But at
depends
least
on the
we're not reading
subject.
articles about like false terrorism, so people aren't having. Okay, I come from an Arabic family, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so much fake news about Arabs and the Muslim
That's true.
terrorists, this and that, and people are consuming it, and it's feeding their fear and their perception of who people are, and that's so fucked up because it's like. That's
It's unfortunate.
Fake, it's not even real. It's not even real
No,
news.
that's
It's not
for
even-
profit news, is what you're
Exactly, and
people are exploiting fear of a race to make money on these
or
stories. Is what that
ethnicity
is.
or culture, religion, yeah. all
But
that
I mean,
stuff.
a lot of these things we were discussing abortion.
Yeah.
Abortion, some people think is an abomination to God because they think
Sure.
that you're not going to change their minds that at conception that is a child.
Sure.
I don't happen to agree with that, but I think that's more of a moral issue.
That
to change your ideas
stems-
about a moral issue. And unfortunately, a lot of people think global warming, we have to save the planet, so it's literally a moral issue with
Yeah,
them.
but
Whether the science
morality-
agrees or not, it's
Right.
still better to get CO2 out
But
of the
morality
atmosphere.
is subjective, and that's why we should never have policies based on subjectivity.
Yeah, you can't draft
cannot-
legislature
It's
based
very
on
Exactly.
hard
stuff
to.
like
how do you
that.
divorce the two, though? I mean, like,
Morality exists as
that's what law
morality,
is.
right?
It's based
Like,
on morality.
Yeah,
No.
but not
What are you
religious.
talking
Not
about?
religious construct. So I'm a moral person, but I'm not a
Our
religious
laws are based
one.
on Judeo-Christian
Yeah, they
morality.
are. America's a Christian nation.
Read Thomas Jefferson.
For sure.
I don't think so.
But that should be
He's trolling you, Armand.
Listen,
You haven't read the Federalist Papers.
but we can reconstruct it,
guarantee
you
that.
guys. Every great nation has had many revolutions, many constitutions. Things can be restructured. We have to acknowledge that the United States is a
But
Christian
there's certain
nation.
morals. I mean, there are certain.
But those morals are going to exist with or without religion, with or
I'm
without.
not introducing it, but that's what
It's called
ours is
universal
based on.
morality.
Yeah.
I know, but there's certain things, regardless, whatever morality you have, I mean, whatever religion you have,
Sure.
thou shalt not kill, I think is pretty much indisputable.
Exactly. But thou shalt not. Okay.
Things like that.
Oh,
these
fuck,
are
okay,
moral
I gotta
imperatives.
Think about this. I gotta like.
Well,
take
I
a
don't
moment.
know. I mean,
gotta
Take your
a
time.
moment.
I'm just saying.
But my whole point, though, at the end of the day, is
But
it's
people
going to
won't
happen.
change their minds about that.
People need to stop being pissed off that these people who are not ready to change haven't changed yet. I guess you can be pissed off about it all you want, but just know that there's no amount of anger towards these people that you don't find to be up to your level of enlightenment is going to make them get there.
Well,
what's
I
going to
mean-
happen
Not
is
gonna
they're going to
change.
breed. It's going to breed out. It's going to take
This is-
generations.
Sorry, it said
Yes.
new show ideas. Armand and AJ debate hot topics. The
Right.
first one,
better.
global warming.
That's very good. I think. Well, now I forgot what I was going to say. So
Yeah, sorry,
I guess
I'm
I don't
sorry.
think at all.
And where he
I
says-
forgot what I said.
I
I
don't think
swayed
he
you.
says I don't think Everett is giving humanity enough credit. I think a lot of people can't see through the bullshit. Yeah, I think a lot of people can.
yeah.
But they're not going to change their mind based on it.
Go
I
on
don't know about
Facebook.
No, they
and
will.
Scroll down your
People-
feed.
People will change their
Like I
minds.
said, it depends on what it is. Now, like
Hang on, guys. We're talking over each
as
other.
John
a lot,
Maynard
a
Keynes
lot.
said, when the facts change, I change my mind. I was against virtually every economic program that Obama came up with. Had unemployment gone down to 3.7% and the GDP was up and everything was going well, I would have said I was wrong. Raising taxes and more regulation does help the economy, but it didn't happen, so I'm not going to change my mind.
But that's based on fact, not just
It's
on
based
the
on
very,
fact,
just,
absolutely.
Yeah, but not just based on the
Well, economics is a science.
Well, all those numbers too are the important quote unquote numbers that some news outlet decided to
no,
feed
that's
you.
the labor,
Did you
Bureau of
go-
Labor Statistics.
Did you go out and like purposely try to find those facts, or did you find them
Yes.
on an article that? Okay, then you are
Bureau of Labor
a
Statistics.
1%er of people who actually go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. 99% of people will wait till that fact comes down their Facebook feed.
That's true.
Okay,
That's true.
well,
And by
It
the
is
time
the
it's on your
exception.
Facebook feed, you got to look at it as a grain of salt because who knows where that came
that
from.
reinforces what we said. People
You
are
are
ignorant
a
and they're
special,
lazy.
special critter, Armand. Everybody knows that. So it doesn't surprise me when you say that you've looked something up. But for the majority of people, the everyday man like us, we don't go to the government websites to take a look at these
I
shit.
used to
Okay,
spout
but why not?
all
Like,
that
if
shit.
you're
out.
aware-
What? You too
I only
busy?
have so
I'm
much
not too
time.
busy.
Hang on. I
I'm
used
not
to do
interested
this
enough.
all the time. Like I would literally say what I just read and present it as fact, and it takes a real like awakening to figure out like, shit, this is not the way I should be doing things. I can't present this as fact because I don't exactly know where it came from.
No, what
But
you saw is
not
something that
every-
got you emotional.
Exactly. And not everybody thinks like that. And like I said, I'm guilty myself. I never used to think like that. But when you look at stuff like this, and even if you think it's fake or not, people don't look at an article and look at it and think about it logically, like you were saying earlier. They read it, they take it for what it is, and then they regurgitate
Don't
it
you
to
think it
somebody
depends
else.
on the source, though?
No, not
I
not
do.
to the people that we're talking about. The people
Some
that won't
people
change their mind
dismiss
does
things
not matter
out of
the
hand.
source.
If I say I have this factoid, and you say, "Where did you get that?" and I say Breitbart, Tony Hubert, who I do my show with, will dismiss it out of hand.
Okay, I should
It
take
mu-
that
And
back,
if you say you got something from CNN, I'll admit I think it's bullshit.
See?
I mean, it's at least tainted.
That's what I'm saying. You
Well,
didn't read
that's
the
we're
article.
talking about media.
You didn't,
Well,
didn't check any sources.
I don't
You
have to
just-
read the
you
article because my alternative your news source, told me something different.
Right,
I
exactly.
don't need your news
So what do you
source.
do when that happens?
Which your news source that I've read before has obviously been biased to something else I didn't like before.
You
So
can-
now I no longer like your
You
news
can
source.
literally Google
people write off
things that
bias, right?
I
support
think
your
Google-
argument.
I think Google
You
is
can
tainted,
literally
too.
support things that
Right.
you Google things that support your argument.
right.
Okay, but this is
argument.
you guys are arguing basically the fact that people are too lazy to look up reality, like facts.
They
like,
are.
And
They are, yeah.
No,
that-
I'm just saying that there's
Yeah.
that certain. Even if you do go to all that trouble to look up facts, somebody can find a different fact from a different source that totally contradicts that
That's-
fact.
this- that's what I'm
see,
saying.
Then we're
this is what we were
stuck.
talking about earlier today with my friend. Like, fact is fact, truth is truth, and reality is reality, and they're all three different things. The only one that the collective exists within that we can all agree on
Reality?
is fact.
Yeah, fact.
hopefully,
I don't know about that. I don't
My
know.
Then
reality
we can-
differs from your reality. The
There
way
is
I
no
frame it.
a truth. There's not the truth, and then there's like our perceived individual realities.
Right. Like
you know?
I see things different than you see. We, like I was saying earlier with what Bernard Cohen says, the way we both, based on our past experiences, take our stimuli and, basically the news we're talking about here, our past experiences frame how what we see on the news, and well, they also frame it their own way. But our reality is based on what we've seen before. Like if I was hit by a car before, I'm going to, be automatically scared of now the speed limit's going up. You know what I mean? And you might see it as, oh, great, I can get to work faster. The reality is different based on experience. But
It's like when
she
you-
said, fact is fact. That is, the grass is green.
I
That
look at
is
it
fact.
like when you have a word, right? And there's there's a definition for that word, okay? But there's also there's a denotation, definition, and a connotation. There is the fact, and then there's like the many truths that are aligned around that fact. The fact is a dog is a dog. What does a dog mean to you is based upon your experiences of that dog. When you enter a conversation or you enter Facebook or you enter whatever educational or receiving information, we have to all at least try to understand that there are collective facts. We can start there.
Right.
How I perceive the world, what my reality is, what I consider true, what you consider true, that can be different. But if we don't have a common ground, like a fact is a fact, and there's no other argument, like math, this is E equals MC squared. We're not going to argue that. E equals MC squared. Let's all just acknowledge that that's a fact. You can't go anywhere else and get another fact for that. That's the fucking fact, right? But we can talk about the truths, how we perceive mathematics or the world or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Okay,
So
Jay,
when you enter a
think you know the whole
conversation-
truth?
You know
Think
nothing.
again.
Yeah, listen
You know
to the
nothing, Jon
introduction.
Snow. Yeah, so I don't know what I was trying to say there.
Well, I mean, and I
just
think that's
frustrating when
Well,
we
I think
have-
there's a problem with
Yeah.
science. There's no such thing as a fact. You can say E equals MC squared, but even Einstein would say we're going to have to accept that until
For now,
somebody
until somebody-
disproves it.
exactly, but
there's
for-
no such thing, and that's
It's
why
a
I hate the
fact for
term
now.
settled science.
Yeah.
There's no such thing.
It's a fact for now, and I was saying that earlier to my friend. Even like he said,
Go ahead, you're all right.
sorry, he said the table is standing here because of gravity.
What Jordan said, I disagree with that completely.
What does it say?
I
he's
read
just
it,
saying
but
that
I
there's
read it.
statistics from the bureau that Armand is citing right here, saying that Trump didn't save the economy, that Obama actually did, but he disagrees with that.
Okay, so
Yes.
see, that's
That's truth versus fact.
Well,
there
there you
is,
go.
and that's the thing. There's
That's
truth
my point.
versus facts.
It
Like
depends on how you interpret fact to get your truth.
ha ha ha, LOL, Everett.
What? Is that
Are you
what
being
just said?
funny?
No. Is that what you
No,
just said?
a fact is a fact. A fact is a fact. Even like we just said right now, we know that we're standing up here, we're sitting here because of gravity. Because gravity is what we know right now. So we accept that as a fact. When that changes, if that changes and we discover something else that's keeping us here, not gravity, then we can all adopt that notion, right?
There's some people. I mean, we're going to have.
Yeah, there's
hopefully, we're
fucking
going to have
flat
the flat
earthers.
earther
Oh
on
my
here,
God,
and he
I know.
denies such a thing as hydrostatic equilibrium, which I think is a basic
but
tenet of
those
physics.
people
He
are
denies
like,
it.
They're
I don't
a
know.
fucking
I'm not a
exception,
physicist.
man.
Well, what can I
Like-
say? I'm not a physicist.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know.
like there's like
The same people, the same thought process of I believe the earth is flat is I believe the wall, in my opinion. I believe the wall is a good idea. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh my
It's like you're not looking at it. I have my own reasons in the back of my life why I think that wall is a good idea.
Right.
I was beat up by a Mexican kid when I was 8.
Right.
I lost my job to a Hispanic person whenever I was
which
fucking 25.
never happens, but yeah.
It may have never happened. It may have happened to a cousin. I heard a story about a guy who did it. All it takes is one little thing like that to hit you emotionally at the right part of your life. And now from here on until the day you die, unless you think about why you're doing it, you're going to have a bias.
You have a vendetta against these people, and you're allowing
you might not know
policies
why.
to be in place on your own
What it
personal
is you're
vendetta.
I
allowing
don't have
your
anything against
influence
Mexicans. I don't.
to
I want the
affect
wall.
your
I don't want
decisions.
Armenians in here either if they're
Okay, but
illegal.
what's a wall gonna do? So
wall's
you're
gonna do
about
plenty.
illegal. You're about illegal immigration.
Wouldn't you? Absolutely.
Okay.
You asked.
Well, hang on. Back
all I
to the
say
point.
to you
It's,
is,
it's about the media influence over the wall. is
Yeah,
what we're
we have to
talking
get back to
about.
media because we're like all up in the
Well,
There we
I
go.
would say go
Whether
to,
it's
go to the Border
whether it's
Patrol.
right or not.
Well, that's a
media is
morality issue. Some
influencing-
people may say that.
Agreed.
But I asked the expert. That's what I said on Ocho Man. Remember, ask the Border Patrol. But
Right. But
What
we're
do they
talking
know?
about the
Are you kidding?
influence of the media on the subject. What I'm saying is that the media is influencing even the conversation that we're
discussion.
having right
Absolutely.
now.
It's hot in here.
that's true.
It is
I'm getting
That's
sweaty.
true. Is that a bad thing?
Yes.
You don't want the
yes.
media. So you don't even want the media
No, I just
focusing
don't think
people's
that they
attention
should
on anything.
influence as much as they do. I think
Well,
they
I'm not
should
sure
tell
that's
the
something
facts.
new. Do you think that's a new
See,
thing?
you're giving the media the power. The power exists in each of us to be influenced. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You're saying the media, and that's the way we frame the episode today, is that the media made me do it. But at the end of the day, the media can't make you do shit from the other side of the TV or the computer screen. You taking this
They
information,
can make you think about it.
Wouldn't
And they're
the-
not making you, and it's not like you.
still your responsibility.
It's,
Well, I don't
right,
happen to
but
believe
you
in
are.
it.
They're going to set the seed in your head in order for you to think about this by triggering you with
Right.
with facts or some
Or
sort of
emotion.
truth,
It's
right?
not, that I think
That's
is
what I'm
more of
saying.
a
So
problem.
they're-
But
they're
wouldn't
al-
you say, Eric, that the media also? How many people have ever heard or have any notion of global warming if it wasn't for the media?
Oh my
Some-
God.
a lot of people would
Somebody
say that's
straight
a
up
good
saying
thing.
Walls work. Ask Israel.
Triggered.
Ooh, trigger.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Trigger. It does not. Yeah, it works to keep out people that you're performing genocide against. I guess it works to cut off food and water and all types of
But now,
resources. to
you have to admit,
Palestinians,
now,
yeah.
if you were
Totally
Jewish, you
works.
think you'd say the same thing?
Yes, because
I don't think so.
there's a
You're-
huge.
you're
no,
Arabic, and I don't blame you.
No.
You think I have the same opinion
no,
of
no,
a
no.
Turk as you do?
Armand, there is a huge Jewish population in New York, in Israel.
You shouldn't have
There
a bad
are
opinion of a Turk
there
just because
are
you're Armenian.
Israeli
Right.
soldiers who just came to St. Louis and talked about how fucked up genocide against Palestinian people is.
Because of the wall?
Because of everything,
Well,
but the
that-
wall's
that-
a contributing factor. Yeah, you can't occupy a country. Okay, it'd be like Mexicans, even though they are originally from this country, coming here, okay, and then just like occupying all of Illinois and putting a wall around Illinois. What the fuck? People would be like, what the fuck?
Right. But we can put it around our country.
That's exactly what happened with Israel and Palestine. Palestine existed. There was Jewish Palestinians, Muslim Palestinians, Christian Palestinians, all existed. When it became of interest to the West,
When was this?
in the 40s. Well, in the 20s originally with England colonized Palestine, but in the 40s when this happened, when the original occupation started.
What about during the Ottoman Empire? There was no such thing as Palestine.
Okay,
the
but
Ottomans.
are we going to trace back all
Absolutely
the way?
we
So
are.
then why the
Of
fuck are we
course.
even here in the United States? We should give it back to the Native Americans. We should just do that, right? We should all just leave and give it back to the Native Americans.
I didn't say that.
That's the kind of logic
There's
you're
no such
using.
thing as a Palestinian. That's
Yes,
all
there
right.
are.
No, there
because
is not.
They had
Absolutely
their. Yes,
not.
there is. Absolutely.
Who called it Palestine?
Ways the media
Palestinians.
No, they
is
didn't.
presented to
Yes.
make
No,
you
they
feel a
didn't.
certain
Yes, and
way.
they've been Palestine for fucking.
It's called
their
Palestine
mics.
by the
Cut 'em
Romans.
Oh my God, Armand.
Ways the media is
Armand.
presented to make you feel a certain way.
We won't do Israel and
I was
Palestine today.
liking it.
Yeah, that we can do a show on that. I'll be glad to.
Fine.
We could do
That
a
would be a different show. That would be
Surreal
Yes.
Talk presents these two.
Yeah, no shit.
It was Judea before it was Palestine.
Okay, listen.
Of course.
The fact of the matter is, Eastern Europeans came into the Middle East, okay, and occupied a land where people were living.
the British did.
Sure, and Eastern Europeans came, okay, after
And the
World War
French.
II, after World War II.
No,
and
after World War I.
After World War I, and occupied, and then after World War II, because that's when they were like, oh, we should take all these
Yeah,
displaced
but the Balfour
Jews.
Declaration gave the Jews
Yes,
a homeland in 1918.
Exactly. Okay, but you can't just decide like, hey, you know what? This place that's already been occupied by people for however fucking long is now the homeland of a whole other group of people, and people are living there. We're gonna take over all their homes and take over. Listen, I'm gonna.
I
stop.
know. Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna stop.
see, that's what I'm saying.
I
That's
feel-
a hot button issue. You
Yeah,
can see
yeah.
how, and that's what the media apparently is trying to
This
do.
is perfect because I have no opinion on Palestine and Israel. I've never watched a news story or know nothing about the situation over there. And I mean, I'm saying like, I don't give a fuck because the media didn't tell me to.
Yeah,
I didn't
No,
let the
you
media
think
tell me
Would
to.
the media be able to work that? I mean, she's
Not in me.
She's
I have to
Arabic.
follow-
It has a
no,
big
Exactly.
effect
She's
on
got
her.
something in her past
Doesn't
where
have
it
that
makes
big
it
an effect
relevant.
on me. I'm not Jewish. But
I mean, I'm not Palestinian. I'm Lebanese, and
Mm-hmm.
it affected me because my parents had to leave because of civil war and this and that. And I was born and raised here, though. You know, it affects me because any nation that is living under occupation is a problem.
I want to talk about a wall. You know where the longest wall in the world is?
China?
Yeah.
No,
High five.
no, it's not. It's between India and Pakistan.
It's the wall
And
of
it
people
works.
lined
It
up.
keeps-
to
I mean,
hit
that's what they're trying to do.
unsubscribe to this show.
But anyway, but is it immoral? I'm hearing the argument it's immoral to have a wall. Then it's immoral to have a border to me.
I mean,
And
that's
some
not
people
even-
are globalists
listen,
and they think it is immoral to have borders.
And I would fall
I disagree
toward
with
that more than I would. I would rather live a world that's borderless than live in a world that's so bordered that we have to put walls up.
Well, there's a difference between a wall that keeps people in and a wall that keeps people out. Wouldn't you agree? The Berlin Wall was not to keep people out; it was to keep people in because people want to escape.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Well,
I don't know.
there's a big
I feel
difference.
like Eric's like getting annoyed and pissed
I'm
off.
reading the chat.
He's just reading the chat. He
I
does
don't even
that.
want to look at it. I don't even want to
Well,
look at it.
let's push on. I got
Yes,
another little
push on.
thought for how the media influences. Think about a new vocation that's popped up in the last several years. Someone known as a professional influencer.
Oh my
who's
God!
in-
Somebody said she is doing so much better than T trying to debate Armand. He
Yeah, but
sucked.
Danielle thinks
He's
I'm
bad.
handsome, so you're not going to beat me in Danielle's. Well, T was.
What's that, Everett?
T told me to go to Antarctica and dig ice, dig through the ice to prove global warming didn't exist. That was his argument. It didn't hold much water.
I get it. Pun intended.
Yes, absolutely.
What I was saying though about
Go ahead.
professional influencers who exist these days, people who are like say your social media Instagram models,
They get
or,
paid so much money.
or people like the Situation.
What are
which
they?
I like the Situation
They're
from.
called social media
I
influencers.
don't even know what that is.
They do nothing but have giant Twitter or Instagram accounts, and then get hired to show up and make appearances.
How did they get that job? I want
I
that
have a
job.
friend.
I wish I knew.
Yeah, I want
I have
that
a friend
job.
who I went to SLU with. He was a soccer player. He is from LA. He moved back to LA, played for the LA soccer
Galaxy,
team.
I guess?
Yeah, the Galaxies. And now he is a huge social media influencer. And now he like works for like I don't know how it works. It's like a fucking weird thing, but he like basically like runs ads for all these companies through Facebook and Instagram, and he goes around the world and makes like gives speeches about how to like influence people on social media.
So we
It's
had a
whole
guy that
thing.
worked here who used to be a thorn in my side constantly, who bought into that whole I'm going to
Yeah.
go pay $28,000 to go to this conference to learn this or that or the other, and they'll have 50 people there who thought the same thing, and this guy will make all that money. He fucking was so smart, and I hate to admit it because this kid got on my nerves constantly. He now does that. And he's parlayed it into a giant career. He's
Is he
made
making a shit ton of money?
Shit
Dude,
tons
it's
of fucking money.
Crazy.
Now he's somehow a producer in Hollywood. He's fucking scammed his way into that shit.
Okay,
Don't
who
get me
is
started.
he?
I'm not going into it right now because this kid's a trigger to me. But
Well, I'm jealous too.
dude,
and I don't even know him.
to watch his Facebook, I'm still friends with him on Facebook because, like I said, I don't friend anybody. I'm a dickhead like that.
Of course not.
He's got my favorite car. He's got fucking pictures with Snoop Dogg and Joe Rogan. And to me, he's this little dumb bastard who couldn't get shit done on his own. But
Well-
at the same time, he's now a social media influencer who's making fuck tons of money.
Right. I mean, they're paying.
Because he knew what posts to make and knew what things to say to make people go, this guy's got his shit together. When I know for a fact he's nothing but social media magic.
Yep. When you pay like a Kardashian $20,000 to show up at a nightclub, why would you? So that she's an influencer, but people are going to come there. Why? Because that person is there.
Yeah, but
okay,
she's a
so you're making the
Kardashian.
money off the.
Have
Let's
any
make
of
it
you
a lot
guys-
closer. I can say in this business how we've used social media influencers or have thought about it. For Yo Radio, for instance, to contact Instagram models who have 2 million followers, 3 million followers to start their own Yo Radio station.
Yep.
Because they have that following built in. They're an influencer. All they got to do is make a few posts and say, hey, check out my station. And now this is
But
instantly
how do
viable.
they reach that status is what I want to know. I mean,
Pictures
like your
of
friend.
boobs, basically, and shares. They
Let's
got most
do
of them.
that.
are
One of your
Take your shirt
one of
off.
your listeners brought up the Fire Fest, and that's like, have you watched these documentaries
I have
of the
not.
Fire Fest? That's an example of what influencer can do. Like this guy, I don't remember his name. They started out with this like app, okay, and the app probably would have been pretty cool. It basically like had a bunch of talent, like different artists or whatever, and you could like book them via this app. And I don't know exactly how it worked, whatever. He decided to start this whole festival thing, and so he like, without having any money, somehow got money from like people who wanted to invest, and then like because he knew certain people, just went out and like put a bunch of shit on Instagram, like had these women, these models fly out to this island. Put a bunch of shit on Instagram about how there's gonna be this festival there. All they did, seriously, was like post images of themselves on Instagram, tagging Fire Festival at this place, and the thing blew up. He was selling like rooms for like $10,000. You can stay on the yacht for $50,000, and Drake's gonna be there, and this model's gonna be there, blah, blah, blah. And all of this was like just blowing up through social media. The whole thing was bust. This guy ended up going to jail, la la la. Long story short, but that's what these influencers are able to do. Like
that's what they. I don't know. I still don't get it. Instagram.
Basically, all they have to do
influencers.
is exist. People like their pictures. Like, say you were
How do they
beautiful.
influence
Armand, imagine you're a beautiful young
Billy
woman.
McFarlane.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, Billy
Okay.
McFarlane.
And you take pictures all the time. You post them via. You have good makeup. You put on good costumes,
I
good
get
outfits.
that.
And you got 3 million
So
people
that's
to
going
follow
to attract
you.
a lot of guys because you're a good-looking woman.
Right. You've got 3
How do you
million
use this
guys.
power you have?
So now, as a person who's got an event coming up, I need to get this out to as many people as possible. Hey, if I give you 10 grand,
got it.
will you put your picture on here and add my logo and say this is going down?
Okay, well,
And say,
well,
you'll
that
be
would
attending.
exercise a lot of
I
influence.
mean, at the
sure.
base level, that's what it is. Now you got people like the Kardashians.
But they're not persuading by the way. Hopefully, we're trying to persuade. She's played.
No, they're influenced for
hopefully,
hire.
right.
It's not like for the
But
most part
tits.
these influence.
Tits and good looks.
Right. Most of these are
that's
not
much more
political
persuasive.
influencers. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Not at least in the concept.
So they're
of the
basically
context
just
I'm thinking of.
advertising things, right?
Right.
That's what,
Pretty much.
But at the
But
same
that's
time,
not what your buddy does, or you're not your buddy,
That's
but the
his
guy
buddy.
you know,
Right.
your rival. How did he get to his status?
fucking luck.
You have to be a.
know,
You
you
have
had
to be
some
like
kind
a
of talent.
scam
I don't know
artist
what.
or
I'm
something.
too close to that one to give you an honest opinion. That's one of those few things I can't be
Doesn't
honest
sound
about.
like he has anything superlative about his personality or his ability to
To be
persuade.
honest, he probably does.
Piece of
I
shit
guess.
magician. Tell you that.
He probably does. He's probably a good
Well,
talker.
that's a testament to the greatness of this country that a guy as ordinary as that can achieve with virtually no,
That's a testament to the
discernible
bullshit of
talent.
this country. But yeah, it's the American dream. I'm an idiot,
know.
and yet I am rich.
Right. Believe me, I know guys. I mean, in the medical, I know podiatrists that are lousy surgeons and really have no talent whatsoever for medicine, but they're really good at persuading people to think they're good, and they're making tons of money.
Influencers.
Well, that's what it is. Yeah.
Everett's got a really good line written, typed up on this that says, "Media is less about information these days and more so about emotion and entertainment, and ultimately it's profit-driven."
Yeah, I mean that's.
So I mean, when you think about something, if it's for profit, if all they're doing is making profit,
They're selling
wouldn't-
ads. That's
wouldn't
the
you
end of the
come
day.
up with a business model that's gonna get you the most profit?
Of course.
Wouldn't no matter if you have to tell half truths or
Oh God,
falsehoods
I
at
wouldn't
all.
even think about it. I'd lie through my teeth.
So with that knowledge in your mind fresh, just every time you read a news story, think about that. Why you're being told what you're being told here.
Well, I hope our listeners do that. Unfortunately, a lot
Ours
of people don't,
probably
and that's a
do
big
for the
problem.
most part. Ours
I'll give you
probably
an
do.
example. I really don't
disagree.
believe in orthotics, which is art supports for I mean, they have their place as far as bringing podiatry into this. But a guy wanted me when I was in LA, said, would you do a commercial? Because, at that time, 20 years ago, I guess I looked like a, somebody trustworthy doctor, put on a clinic jacket and then advertise my, I'll give you $5,000.
Did you do it?
No, I said, yes, I would, but it never went through.
Why?
Fuck
Because
yeah, dude.
I never heard from him again. But I said, sure, I will.
See, I'm a hypocrite because as much as I don't want media influencing you, if someone comes up and says, "Hey, man,
Yeah,
go
of
out
course.
here and fucking 10 grand and do that,"
Sure. That's
what do you
why.
want me to say?
Right.
I want to
that's-
say that I have a higher moral ground than that, but
You also have bills.
Do you have a price?
Exactly, I
Well,
don't
maybe you
know.
do it for 20, maybe
Everybody's
50.
got a
It's the
price.
same thing we were
Right.
talking
but I
the other
hate.
day.
I don't want to acknowledge
we
that as a
do.
reality.
We
have
do.
to. It's the same thing Eric was saying the other day, how he was saying
$1 million.
support local, buy local, until local was $8 versus Walmart is $3.
Yeah, but still, but those things will work itself out when companies like Walmart are like being challenged, right? Like it's $8 now, but when there's no longer competition like Walmart because we are supporting local, those prices will drop. Like that takes
I'm
time.
not sure about that.
it's hard to
You
get to
know,
the point where you
I
support
doubt
local.
that. Absolutely not.
Why would you doubt that?
Because it's
Why
not
would
going
you
to
doubt that?
happen.
Yes,
There's
it's not going to happen.
You're never going to beat
maybe.
Walmart on prices. I don't care how many
Yeah,
people
but
go to
that's
your
because
local
they
place.
exploit. I'm saying
And you have to want to
They
do
have
local
volume.
for that to happen. People have to want to and have to be okay spending more for their principle of supporting
we
local.
do because look, we
that's
support.
totally the problem in our society, and I get it. Like there are times where like I don't want to eat. I feel bad buying this like fast food, fucking mass-produced meat, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I have $3 in my account. So that's a reality for people. I'm not dogging it. I'm not
Absolutely.
judging it. I'm not saying any of that.
Look.
I'm just saying I want us hopefully to get to a better place in society. But that's just.
But there
not-
are people that can afford it, and they do.
And they
buy
do it.
Right, they
Exactly.
will buy local. They're not going to. There's some
Exactly.
people who will
About to
never set
explain it.
foot in a Walmart.
About to explain it to you.
Exactly.
I got two buddies that sell weed. One sells weed that he gets a bunch of it at
Basic
one time,
economics.
and
Yeah.
one of it sells it to pay his rent.
Yeah.
When I can afford it, I'm going to buy it from the guy that needs to pay his rent.
Is the price the same, or he
No.
pays a little bit more? You
a
have
little
to pay
bit more from the guy that.
probably
But
for a
you know
little
he
less
needs
Is
it
it better
more.
weed?
But I know he needs it more.
probably
No.
Everything
weed's
else is
weed.
the same.
No, yeah, everything else
That's
is the
not
same.
true.
But I prefer to buy local, and if I can, in order to help
Well,
this
it's not
guy
necessarily
out.
local. It's just that you think the guy needs the money more. You're going to go to the guy
But
who needs the money more.
it's like a metaphor, right? The business
Yes.
owner, the local business owner,
The local
who needs to
business
feed
owner.
his family versus the corporation that doesn't give a fuck about anybody.
Well,
who
I-
are you going to support?
Ding,
That's
ding,
what
ding,
he's trying
ding,
to say.
We have a wiener.
While I
A
appreciate,
wiener.
while I appreciate and want to help the local guy, the little guy,
Yeah.
in the end, I got to look out for number one.
Right.
And
True.
if it means I've got $5 more to spend on something I didn't have
Absolutely.
before,
Right.
it could go to my daughter's this or that, or
Sure.
Right.
or
And
whatever
you're gonna help
other
s-
thing that isn't just that guy's benefit.
Right.
That's what I'm going to do.
It's always the seen and the unseen. Read Bastiat. That money you save on the
No.
weed. Okay, you're not going to read him, so let me outline what he
Please do.
says. You're right. It's not like you're going to take that money that you saved and stick it in your mattress or a piggy bank.
That's
you're
not
going to take
true
it and spend
either.
it somewhere else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
100%.
somebody else is going to benefit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's not
well,
just
it
Walmart.
makes me
Some-
feel a little
Who's
bit better
Dan
at the time.
Kroenke?
He owns the
he
Rams.
owns yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it makes me feel a little bit better at the time.
Well, yeah, but I mean, still, if you spend but say you go to our the farmers market out here with that extra money you have that you saved on the weed, and
Okay.
you buy some tomatoes from a farmer, you
Okay.
helped him out,
Right, right.
and he needs the money too.
Yeah.
Well, say you went to Walmart
just a
and you bought
balance, you
$3
guys.
worth of
I
soda
think
that would have
so.
cost you $8 at your local store,
Right.
and then you took that extra $5 at Walmart and bought whatever the fuck you wanted, and just for your own benefit. There's nothing wrong with that either.
Absolutely not.
Nothing wrong with it, okay? We're not talking about wrong. It's not black or white. It's just like when you have the opportunity to help the world around you and yourself, take those opportunities. That's all it is. No one should judge you for making the choices that are gonna be best for you, because that's all any human
Yeah,
being
and
is
you
trying
don't
to
have
do.
to.
It's just being
But for
socially
me,
conscious is what
what's
you're
best
saying.
for me is to be socially conscious when I
Right.
can.
Right.
When I can. There are times where I fucking can't. I can't afford to.
See-
I can't emotionally do it. I can't financially do it. I can't.
Ideally, I
you know?
completely support you, and I wish everybody was that way.
Yeah.
But
It's not
me,
the
as,
reality.
as a curmudgeon who sits in my house and wants everything easy, cheap, and now,
yeah, but I mean,
I
I'm
let go
kinda
of
in
those
between.
principles.
I'm like an in-between person.
I agree with your right to buy whatever the hell you want. And
Yeah.
if you'd say, listen, I don't want Walmart, I want mom and pop.
Yeah.
totally.
And if you say, I want to save some money, the problem I have is people trying to put the guilt trip on somebody or something
Yeah.
for not having that opinion. That's
yeah,
bullshit.
I definitely don't like people guilt
Especially the
tripping or
government.
judging anybody.
Right.
But I don't like that Walmart has so much power that's able to take out those small businesses. That's a problem. Like
It's like $70 billion
big
in profits
corporations
last year.
need to be checked.
Zero
They need to be
taxes.
checked. Do they not need? They need. They're going to exist. Do corporations exist? And they exist, and it's not. It's not like. It doesn't have to be a negative thing, and it's going to happen either way.
Well, I mean, for instance, what do you think about this Amazon? Remember what happened in New York?
yeah, they refuse to let it happen.
I don't know who wins on that one.
I don't
except-
have an opinion on it yet. I don't
Oh,
have.
I
an opinion
do.
on
I mean,
it yet.
25,000 jobs just flew south.
Tax money gone.
And that's a victory.
Yeah, but also think about all those other jobs and things that were people. I mean, there were gonna be other problems, right? Like from what I read, like one of the arguments was people who don't even live in that area will be coming from out of that area to work and then taking their tax monies into another area. This is what happens to East St. Louis, right? Like,
there's
that's-
disadvantages too, but
exactly,
it still
but
is going to
those-
be a net was going to
but
be about
those
a lot of money.
disadvantages might outweigh the
Not in
advantages.
this, I doubt it.
If there was a wall, the Mexicans wouldn't come in here and send their money back to Mexico.
Take our fucking jobs.
Take our jobs
And our white women.
and then not pay
All our
taxes.
white women.
I want.
Yeah, no, I mean, that was just something toward I figured Armand was going to say that next.
No,
You know what I mean
I
on
don't know
that
how I
note.
feel about it yet. Honestly, I understand the need for jobs, and I'm totally about people having fucking jobs, of course, you know. But also, like, if it's gonna hurt the environment that
Well,
the
the
job,
argument I heard, and that's from our friend Sandy Ocasio-Cortez, is that they're going to bring in, and the average job was going to be $150,000 a year.
Yeah.
Where do I
she
apply?
thought- Which absolutely, she thought that would be, we're going to make a Silicon Valley out of this place, and nobody's going to be able to afford to live
that's
here.
a reality, though, Armand. That happens. That's what
Well,
happens.
then you're an anti-capitalist. Then of course it's going to
Yeah,
happen.
but at
you
some
don't want
point-
Silicon Valley? That
No.
happened because it's successful and people
At
make a
some
lot of money.
point, we have to care about the people too, dude. Like, we can't just care about the money and the corporations. There is no money in corporations if there's no people. Like, you have to care about the people too. Like, if it's taking away their ability to live where they fucking live for generations, like, then I don't want that there. I agree with that, because there is no money and there is no corporation and there's nothing if there's not people. And the people we're suffering. The
So
middle
then why
class-
not have a slum? Then everybody can afford to live
It's not
there.
a slum.
Well, that's what it's going to be.
No, it's not.
Long
It
Island
hasn't
City is
been.
going to turn into
no,
one.
it hasn't. No, it's not, because it's been thriving and coming up, and it's okay, and it's doing fine. Local businesses are helping.
Slum is
it,
a
like-
relative term, though. I'd like to throw that out there.
It is. It's subjective and it's relative, and yeah. But you know, I don't know. Like I said,
I don't know. I think that defies every law of
having
economics I
jobs-
ever learned.
having
You want
jobs-
high-paying jobs. If that drives up the prices of home ownership, that's true. But
see, the thing
the
is-
builders and the homeowners, et cetera, and the
The
banks,
issues
they
is-
all benefit from this.
if the people that live in that area are taking those jobs and putting the money back into that area, then that's one thing. That's a great thing. Then that's fucking awesome.
Well,
but if
that's
people
what's gonna
are not
happen.
living in that area,
What do you
taking
mean by
those
that
jobs-
area? Where are they going to come from? Maine? They have to
Fucking-
be in there somewhat in that area.
Yeah, but they're not going to be like in where are they trying to put it in? Queens? Where are they
Long
trying-
Island City.
Look
Look
at
at
it
what
like
they're
this.
building.
If you go to Missouri to work at a place in St. Louis because it's a more paying job, is what she's saying.
Yeah.
You're not spending your tax money where
Sure you are.
where you should be. Even
You're
at
going
the
to
same
eat
place
lunch
that you
there.
work.
You're going to, of course, you're going to have that. They're
You
gonna-
paying your property taxes there? You paying? Are
No,
you
but
paying
you're
the
gonna be paying
majority of your
state tax.
sales tax
You
there?
Yeah,
pay
but so
state
those
tax.
people who
you
are
go
making more
grocery
money.
shopping there.
Of course you do.
No, you
You
don't.
go
those
eat lunch
people-
there.
So those people who are making more money.
So that's your argument. Don't set up a well-paying industrial complex
Set
for
it
people
up.
because people from out of state may come and work there. That's your argument.
That's not my argument. That's your argument
that's
about
her
Mexico.
argument.
That's your argument. That's your argument.
That's
That's
your
exactly
argument.
what you
That's your
say
argument.
about
That's your
Mexico.
argument.
We talked about this on the Ocho Man show that you don't want those people coming in. The wall will help because they're sending all their money back home, and they should pay.
That's not
they
my
should
argument.
pay the taxes
No,
here.
My
They
argument
should
about
spend
the wall.
money here.
Don't misquote me. My argument about the wall is that
Fuck you, I'm
they
from
hurt
Maine.
they hurt our lower income people. The people coming from Mexico are unskilled labor. What do you think that does to the price of labor? It drives it down. Who gets hurt the
Unskilled,
worst?
How?
What do you mean unskilled? I mean unskilled, uneducated, and it's basically manual labor. And who does that hurt? It hurts lower income people. I'm not talking about the money they send back to Mexico. I never say anything about the money
You
they send
said
back.
that on the Ocho Man show.
No, I didn't.
You said that they don't pay their taxes here because of that money always goes
No,
back
they
to the
pay
other
taxes
country.
here, but they don't pay anywhere near what it costs to feed them, which we give them
This
money
is
for, to
sagging
educate
so
their
hard.
kids,
I
to
know.
give them housing. Well, I mean, he misquoted me. He said,
Don't you ever fucking misquote
what
him.
am I? What am
Actually,
I? The
I don't
media?
believe I
I'm not
quoted
the
you
media.
either. I just said that was your
Well,
argument.
you
You
said
don't-
that. That's
Ever
what you said.
pseudo quote Armand.
Yeah, don't make me come over there.
He'll come over there.
Turn your
Oh,
cap
motherfucker
around.
would.
I'll turn your cap around with your head in it.
Oh shit. He'll put that cap around straight.
Yeah. I don't know.
I need a cigarette.
And I know you're not in your best shape these days.
You never know.
You're a little lethargic.
You
yeah, but
underestimating
you're,
somebody?
Yeah, right. You're probably pissed off. So I may wait till your temper goes down. You do feel like killing somebody.
There's not too much more.
thank you,
We've hit
Jessica.
everything indirectly here. What we
I
want to
had a
talk
really
about.
good point
Well, who
about Chocula, though. Count Chocula cereal.
All right.
So, yeah, now this is just how
Okay.
I equated in my
Okay, go
feeble
ahead.
little simple donkey-brained mind. Everyone,
You are donkey-brained,
Count
that's true.
Chocula is better than the Aldi brand cereal, right? Like your
No.
little Aldi
No.
Cocoa Puffs versus this
Theoretically.
brand,
Yeah, it
right?
is.
Okay.
Theoretically.
No, it's
Yeah.
not.
Why do we think that? Even though that
Better commercials?
This
Commercials
this
in general?
cereal from Aldi that costs $1 a box tastes better.
No, it
it's
doesn't.
shut up. It's got better stuff in it. I mean, it's generally a better cereal. But everyone buys the $4 a box Count Chocula because why?
Commercials.
Because of commercials. Because we are influenced to believe that this is a superior cereal to this one.
It's not even that because
don't think there's
you're
a difference?
targeting children.
There's totally a difference. But that's not. But
See,
but
you're
not,
looking at this wrong, in my opinion. The commercials you're talking about are targeted towards children. The commercials for Aldi stuff, there is no commercials for Aldi stuff. Because they just want to sell you cheap
Right,
shit.
right.
So those commercials on TV are targeted towards a 5-year-old.
You don't eat cereal? I eat cereal.
I eat the fuck out of my
Are you
cereal, homie.
influenced by those fucking Count Chocula commercials as an adult?
Not
I
now,
hope
but
not.
whenever I used to ask my mom what cereal
my
I
point.
wanted, I would tell her I
That's
want
his
Count
mom too,
Chocula.
okay?
I want Count Chocula cereal.
But if
You
she
know what I
filled
mean?
a Count Chocula box with the cheap stuff, would you know?
No, I mean, not on the Count
That's
Chocula.
what I do.
Mayonnaise, I definitely
Okay, I
would,
personally
but not on
was
the Count
always an
Chocula.
Aldi's person because my grandma shopped there, and I love the feelings and
Aldi's
emotion of
cheese
being an
sucks.
Aldi. What the fuck are you saying to me
We'll
right
go
now?
outside right now.
You want to fucking fight, bro?
I'm gonna
I'll
fight
fight over
him.
cheese.
I'll
You're
fucking
gonna
smoke a cigarette
fight her.
and fight you. Yeah.
Jesus.
I just
Tag
thought that
team match.
I just thought that was interesting because that's just something that came out to me. Like the media has totally influenced me to think that one certain cereal is better than the other one just because. Why?
Yeah, but you might try it. But I mean, you know me. I'm the cheapest bastard in the world. But if it's really that much worse,
Eric's pretty cheap,
I'll
too, but-
spend some. Wouldn't you? You know, I mean, if there's a real quality difference,
Quality
sometimes
over
there isn't.
quantity. Quality over quantity forever.
But if there's
That's
no
why
difference,
buying
I'll
local
buy
is
the
important.
Aldi's.
Charmin for sure. If I'm wiping my ass, I gotta have good.
Oh my
toilet paper.
God! My husband
But-
came home with
I
like
got-
a
I got it.
24 pack of single ply TP.
Are
I
you
was
I'll
like,
guys are
take
divorced
it.
now?
fuck you! Get out of my house!
saw you guys are
How
divorced
dare
now,
you?
huh?
Hey,
That's
give it to
fine.
Divorced.
me.
Yeah,
Give
you
it to
can
me.
have it,
I'll
dude.
take it. My ass is like a
I have to
elephant.
like roll it 25 fucking times. You know what I mean? I hate that shit.
Well, women are
literally.
like that. Yeah, you're a little sensitive.
I am a little butthole. I have a bidet and everything.
How do
but
you shit
still.
in this
I wish I
place?
had
Because
one.
the stuff we have here.
I got sprayed in the
I
face.
don't. I try not to.
Nice.
I try
I
not
was
to. I have a
younger.
bidet at home. home. Yeah, so I try to use that.
Bidet.
I have a bidet. I have a bidet.
I have a
Totally.
bidet add-on. I just never hooked it up.
Hey, we
I
practically
just
have one in
fucking-
that toilet. When you hit that flush, you get it right.
You don't stand on that toilet when you hit flush. Or
Right.
sit on it rather.
You get even stand in front of it, get a face
Yeah,
full.
it's the same thing for us, honestly.
like a
And the
fountain.
further toilet. Mhm.
Anyway, but
But I don't poop. Girls don't.
I don't know what
poop,
your point
so.
was with that Count Chocula analogy. What's
That
that got
you
to
can
do with
be
the media?
influenced not based on personal
Right.
preference or based on anything like that, but you can be influenced simply by the media and how it's presented
Right,
to
which
you.
I would,
like
I
the
would think-
commercials.
right, but you'll try it. But
It's
here's
top
the
of
other
mind
thing.
advertising is what that is.
But here's what I do. Does everybody do this? And this is really, you really want to confuse yourself. You'll go on there and you'll see something. Somebody sells something like me. I'm a big supplement guy. So I'll see something on Facebook. Hey, put on 20 pounds of muscle with this stuff.
You probably see those ads a lot, right?
Oh,
Supplement ads?
absolutely, 'cause
Okay,
that's all I ever
have
buy.
There's a
never seen
woman
one.
3.2 miles away from you waiting to connect right now.
I see those
Yeah,
too, but
where
that's
is
different.
she? I'll go. But anyway, don't you go to?
Mine
I
are
go to
always, like,
Yelp.
jewelry or
but
weed
you're gonna go to
related.
Yelp and check it out, right? I mean, right?
Yeah.
You get the reviews or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But the problem is you can get 5 stars and then you get a 1 star.
Well, they put the
So-
good ones at the top.
I read all.
Yeah.
I'm a review person, dude. I will seriously read like 35 reviews.
But aren't
before
they
I
all
buy.
contradictory?
Well, on
They
Amazon-
are. So then I have to just like sit there and just weigh the fucking. pros
On
and
Amazon,
I
cons.
usually just end up doing
I
nothing.
only
don't
read the
buy
1
it.
stars.
You only read the
Right,
ones-
me too.
Only read 1
That's what
stars.
I do.
Why does that help you?
Because 5 stars are all the same. Product was great.
Right.
Does everything I needed
Right.
it to.
Yeah.
You
1
just wanna
stars
know-
give you actual problems.
Details of why it wasn't.
This
Yeah.
this person didn't ship it with for 3 weeks. Product was fine. That's a 1 star. Okay, now I know the product was fine. This guy, I had it for 1 week and this button broke. I had it for 3 weeks and it stopped. Power stopped working.
Right.
Those are the problems I want to see.
Well, that's a good point. I never thought about just reading 1-star reviews.
Read the problems because
That's
you
all I do. Yeah.
That's
You
what we
already
should do
love
for
the
our
product.
show.
That's why you're there.
Just read the 1-star
We
reviews.
already always do that. That's
Oh,
our,
yeah,
that's our
yeah,
that's
good
our
call.
gig.
That's right.
Yeah.
So does it really help though? I mean, I don't know. 'cause
Yeah,
it
it keep-
usually just paralyzes me. I just don't buy it.
No, so
I
whenever
don't
I'm
know
looking
if you're
for
or not.
I'm in between. I'm like, I get so anxious and nervous about it because I've been fucking looking through reviews forever, and I'm like, you know what, fuck, I don't even fucking need this. I don't even need it anymore. But then other times I'm like, okay, I read a couple of reviews. I have a good idea, and I trust the site, so I go. I look at the site. You know what I mean? Like on Facebook, they always have that. You know, this is free, but shipping and handling, and then shipping and handling is like $27, and I'm like, okay, fuck you. This site's like bogus, and you're bogus, and I'm not gonna do this. You know, I just look around the website first before I purchase anything.
Well, I mean, how much power? I mean, I guess they have a ton of because you know me, I'm studying for my boards, and I'm looking up certain things about diabetes, and now all of a sudden, I guess they think that I'm a diabetic. So I'm just getting, cascades
so
of
creepy.
your
Insulin.
neuropathy. We're gonna, I'll clip your toenails and everything else. I'm getting all this stuff advertised.
So as soon as you typed into
Unbelievable.
Google diabetic
Yeah.
or watched a YouTube video with
What
diabetic,
the fuck, man?
There
it's
it is.
now in your cookies, and Facebook and any other site worth its salt
Clear your cookies.
will
or
look and see
sugar
what
in
you've
this
How
been
do you
case.
to.
share your
Yeah.
cookie? You have to
So
show me later.
in Google Chrome, you hit on a PC Control H, on a Mac it's Apple or Command Shift H, and I'll bring up your history. And on the left hand side, there'll be a little thing that says clear browsing history.
Everett, I love you. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So
I'll get with you. I'll get with you.
Yeah, I know. It's just
Right.
Greek to me too.
If you want to be super safe and not have any of that, always be in a
Incog.
private browser.
Yeah,
Yeah,
incog
always be in a
tabs.
private tab.
But there is the power of the media, right? I mean, that's what they're going on.
That's not the media, though, in my opinion.
Well,
that's
it's Facebook.
the advertising.
They got to be good on
giants.
Google or
Google.
Facebook or these are the giants,
Would you
right?
consider Google itself a media
to be.
organization? I would think so.
I think they're the most
I would think
powerful of
so.
all.
weren't they
No?
recently like
I mean,
weren't
they
they
have
taken
media,
to court
but-
because of the election and how they were swaying?
Well, that's Facebook,
How
right?
yeah, it was Facebook. Oh, never mind. But no, it was Google.
Google too.
Google, they're one of their it was like a year ago or
Media,
something.
Google is a software as a service company.
He
Make
was
no mistake.
taken to court because during the elections, you would type in like Donald Trump, and the first thing that came up was like, "is a piece of shit" or
Right.
something like that, which I
Sure.
agree with, but also like that's totally biased and
course.
like that you should.
Whereas
be,
you put in Hillary, it's
yeah,
like, what
well,
a
I
great
wasn't
gal
a Hillary.
Hillary
I fucking hated Hillary
So
Clinton too. I
that-
fucking
I'm
just saying,
hate,
though,
I
but
hate
it
her more
was-
than
That
Donald
in
Trump.
itself is
Definitely.
manipulable, though, outside of Google. So Google has its search algorithms. Whenever you have a search engine ranks on any page, depending on what content
That's
is in
what
your
the
page.
argument was. That they didn't end up didn't have to pay anything. That's what the argument was.
Right. So like that has nothing to do with Google. Exactly what you're talking about here.
Okay.
Somebody decided that they were going to exploit search engine algorithms, right? So they know that you get better points, so to speak, on your page whenever you've got tagged headlines with certain
Right.
words in it. You've got so many keywords stuffed here. It's arranged in a certain way that Google will consume and like. So when you exploit what Google likes, you can get to the top of those results. So all you got to do is know how to optimize for Google.
Am I?
Oh.
Well, that's their defense apparently. But
My keys are- will you
but
my
people are
car?
countering that.
My
they have, Google, just like everybody else, has their own opinion, and they're going to discount that sort of thing, and they're just going to put.
So that's
they
the
want
question.
to influence people to vote a
think,
certain way.
Honestly, do you think Google is going in and going past their search engine optimization algorithms
Yes.
and making shit like that?
Absolutely.
So why do you think that?
Because
You have no
because
proof
certain
as
things
far as I
trump
know, right?
profit, and then maybe whatever you're saying does make sense profit-wise. But Google also has an image that they want to upkeep, and they have certain things, and they have a certain their philosophy on life itself is predicated on certain things. You would, for instance, the environment. They're big environmentalist people.
Sure.
So you think they give a shit? They think that's a much more important than their algorithms or whatever. Saving the planet's a big deal. Saving us from Trump, God forbid he's president.
See, I don't think
is a big deal.
I think all of that is secondary for them.
I think it's primary for them.
At the end of the day, what they want is to sell, and I guess it kind of goes towards to the look of their company, but they want to sell Google AdSense ads. They want to sell YouTube ads. They want to sell all of their little software as a service. They want companies to pay for the API access to Google Maps. That's what they want. They
But
want
I
their
don't think it
company
costs them anything because I know they're biased, but I have no choice. I have to go to Google. I don't have another choice. If there was somebody else,
Yahoo and Bing and
I'm
everywhere
too
else.
stupid to go to those.
They're the
All I
same
know is
thing. You
Google
type in
Chrome.
Is
R
Ask
and-
Jeeves still a thing?
It exists. It's just ask.com, though.
Oh, okay.
But well, let me ask you this then.
Yeah.
So say it was in Google's best interest that for Bernie Sanders is elected.
Okay.
Do you and it would save them $1 billion in taxes?
Okay.
Do you honestly think that they would?
Be exactly the opposite, though.
Whatever.
Yeah,
they probably
just
charge
an
more.
example.
Okay, fucking George Bush the 12th is going to save them $1 billion in taxes.
Jeb Bush. Okay.
Jeb Bush the 13th.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't matter. My point is, do you think they would ever risk? And get out. It would be horrible for their business, in my opinion. Changing search results to make sure to skew an election to where search results about the candidate that is opposed to what they want would be always showing the bad shit about them. They never show the good stuff about that candidate. And for the people that would support them, that would save them money, all the stories about them that are they've gone through and did the searches themselves and hit their little key in the back end that says this is important for us. Always put this at top.
Yeah.
It's a
Do you think
difficult
they would
question,
risk
but I don't
doing
think
that?
they're two mutually exclusive things. I think they really thought their algorithm would say that let's favor Hillary because it's better for business, and we do want Hillary to win.
So you think
if it was
their
one or the
algorithm-
other? That's a difficult. I don't know, maybe, but I don't think that's
and
their
they'll never
choice.
tell anybody what that algorithm is.
Right.
So you would say that honestly, the algorithm itself has variables that would say this is our current political scheme. Make sure that is calculated into the algorithm, like automatically.
Yeah, I think they do skew it somewhat to that.
I
yeah.
think we would have heard about this honestly by somebody quit Google by now.
I mean, look at Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post. He knows a lot of people aren't going to read that thing because, like guys like me, because I know what his stand is. He doesn't give a shit if he loses out on
This
my
is a perfect echo
subscription.
chamber effect, though. Whenever you won't ever take in, somebody an alternate
An opposing
point of view.
Right?
yeah.
Absolutely, I won't.
But why not?
Because he's
Well,
American.
I
He
will.
doesn't have
no,
to.
but I do read. I
doesn't
do read
have
the
to,
New York
yes.
Times, but they start charging me for it. I stop reading
Don't you
it.
think, as somebody who likes to debate, like the best form of debate, the best way to debate is to know your opposing, the opposer, like to know their point of view, to understand their perspective. Doesn't that sharpen your own beliefs and sharpen your
No,
own
because I know
perspective?
it's a philosophical question with me, and they have a different. Now, like I said, you talk about global warming. I'll read any article if somebody's got an article that seems to be persuasive. I'll read it,
Yeah.
whether it's pro or anti.
Sure.
I know the Washington Post, their philosophy and mine just don't mix.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's why I won't read their article. Now, if they have a scoop on something that happened and nobody else has it.
Let me
Let
ask you
read
this,
it.
Armand. I watched the Twilight movies, all of them,
Okay.
because I didn't feel responsible enough to make fun of those movies without seeing them.
What a good man you are.
I've
watched
never
every
seen
one
them,
of
so I
them.
can't.
Fucking best.
I hated them right off the bat because they're the twinkly vampires, but I couldn't, in good conscience, make complete shit
Twinkly
on them fun because I never saw them. After I saw them, I knew how complete shit they were. I was right, but I felt now that I could actually say that opinion. So my question is, if you want to have a debate with somebody and say their opinion is shit, shouldn't you take everything you know?
No. For instance, I don't read the Daily Worker every day, but I know that's a socialist newspaper. I don't have
That's
to
good
read.
enough?
Yeah, I don't have to read what they say to know that I'm going to
the
disagree with
money.
everything they say.
I mean, that's
I've
going into
read-
an
I've read,
argument automatically opposed.
I've read the Communist Manifesto.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, boy.
Well.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy.
And?
Yeah, may burn in
Marx.
hell.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. Yeah, boy. No,
Well, there
there's
you
no
go.
hell, bro. There's no hell.
I'm just saying,
Well,
is it good
This
practice
is
I
hell.
wish there were one.
to go into a conversation with someone knowing that you're going to oppose immediately just because of the way they previously had stated their opinions? I
Yeah.
think that's dangerous to go into any conversation
If
going,
you say to me right out, I'm a socialist, I know I'm going to disagree with you on virtually everything that has to do with economics. That just makes,
I mean,
You know, just like anybody who listens to this
Probably.
show, they don't have to listen to. They know what I think about global warming. Some agree, some don't, but they know how I stand. They don't have to listen to everything I've ever said. They know. You know, some people say the guy's a crackpot. That's all.
Fair enough.
Right?
I'm just saying, I think it's a little dangerous to go into any conversation completely closed-minded just because somebody has said one statement beforehand. It's like
there's a difference.
You get kind of emotional right off the bat is what you're saying, because you can't make a statement by saying, I'm not going to listen to you because you said socialist. Now I'm emotional.
It depends on what you're talking about. That doesn't mean, you know, if you're talking about abortion, I'm not going to discuss it with the board. But if you're talking about economics, I believe that capitalism is always superior form of economics.
And there's nothing anywhere.
No.
Okay.
I've done my reading. I've read socialist.
And there's nothing that could ever be written new, do
no,
you think?
Not because that's a philosophical issue.
Then there's nothing can be said to you, sir. That is a block. You have a block.
And
well, certain things, I mean, you guys said it. Certain things are true.
But yeah,
to me, that's true.
No, that's.
I
guess that's a truth. It's not a
if
fact.
If you believe
that
there's no economic structure or system that's more beneficial than capitalism thus far, that's
right.
fine.
Yes,
but you
absolutely.
saying it's the only system that will ever function for society without knowing other systems might be found?
Absolutely not. There's
okay.
other, but you're going to end up with what we have in Venezuela. It always happens the same way.
No, I'm not saying socialism or
totalitarianism and complete grief for the people.
I'm saying a completely different structure.
Well,
a completely different system. I mean, I haven't invented it yet, but I'm just saying.
Please do.
There might, you know, just always keep your mind open, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just never know if something new comes out and shifts the way you think, you know? And if you don't allow for that shift to happen, then you're being closed-minded. And why would you?
We've tried it over. There is nothing new.
I'm not saying
there's
new.
no
I'm not
socialist
saying
system. There's no economic system that's going to be new.
But I'm
that's
saying in the United
utopians
States,
always
let's say we function under, we're a capitalistic society that maybe functions underneath the democratic socialism or something. Maybe that works better than the way we're working now.
We have that in Europe. We're better than Europe.
Are we though?
Absolutely.
But are we though? How? In what ways?
Economically.
How?
How? GDP, unemployment.
What about the middle class?
The middle class
I'm
is
gonna
better
let this
too.
keep going, just because.
No, I can't. I don't want to. I have to research more.
By every parameter, compare us to any European country, Germany and Japan too. You think the middle class lives better in Europe than they live here?
Yeah.
You're out of your mind.
I don't know if there is much of a middle class in Europe because people get paid fucking properly for the work that they do, and you know.
Okay.
There might not be.
That's
I could hear the seething.
Yeah, that's
okay.
absurd.
I mean,
you just said socialism and he's tuned out. Is what just happened right there.
No, she said democratic socialism.
I'm making an example.
That was just to make it.
You said the keyword, whatever the keyword was. You were just like, oh, okay. I'm out of here.
Well, I mean, if you live in Germany, believe you're not living as well as you live here. You're paying 3 times as much for your energy right off the bat.
Where did Eric go?
Eric went to get
Eric's had enough.
Phone call.
He doesn't want to discuss economics.
I don't ever want to read these comments, by the way.
I love these comments.
Ones, there's some really mean
and I'm really
ones
taking
in
it up
there,
the ass today.
They go both ways.
Yes.
You're getting it both ways too today.
Oh,
Armand.
absolutely.
Up and down.
I've lost a few fans today, but that's okay.
I've gained some fans.
There's
today.
so much more talking points that I had on my thing that we're not going to get today. We're not going to get to it from shit like the way media frames stories. Like for instance, Katrina. Why you might see looting. Like they'll have a story about black people going in to get food out of a grocery store, framing it as looting. Or the same story you show white people and they're going there to save their lives by getting food. Just shit like that. The way the media just twists things,
or where they put the story. I mean, somebody's
above
page
the fold,
1,
before the fold,
right? Could be
page 7,
absolutely. And what you don't report, as opposed to what you do report. That's not necessarily lying.
I guess at the end of the day,
sure.
I think all of us would just say to our listeners is be cognizant of what you're taking in, whether you're reading it, watching it. Think about why this particular message is being presented to you.
Critically think about it.
Critically think about it, and make your decisions afterward. Be careful with that share button. Think about it before you hit the share button.
Take your time. And don't be upset when people call you out after you shared it.
Exactly, because it's going to happen. Whether you're right or wrong, or more or less you're probably not right or wrong. You have an opinion.
Sure. That
people both have a same opinion, an opposite opinion, and no opinion on. I mean, it's going to happen every different way. But at the end of the day, don't let the media give you your opinion.
So don't you think some people, though, when you say share, I don't put anything on anymore.
I generally don't either, but
they're looking for.
I share things
argument.
so I can have, sometimes I post things.
You're inviting discussion.
I'm inviting discussion. I'm not inviting, let's have a fucking heated debate and never be friends again.
See, I did.
It's
that's what happens, unfortunately.
No, it doesn't. Not for me, I'll say most of the time.
That happened to me.
I posted twice and almost got in 2 fights.
When I was younger, I used to be a very outspoken type of person. I would put stories out like that. I would invite these discussions, and I got in so many arguments with people, and I got to the point where I was getting self-righteous all the time. I just quit. That's why social media and people in general, I quit. I couldn't handle the strife anymore, so I quit people.
Is there anything you would do to change the media?
Me? No,
What
I
would
think
you
it's
do?
perfectly fine. I
No
change
more
the people.
regulation, no less regulation.
I think the media itself is fine. I think people need to be smarter about what they consume.
But you don't think that it's a bad thing that we are moving? I think we agree, though. We're moving more toward titillation and entertainment than actually and that's okay.
I think it's
just
okay.
giving the facts, letting people think about it.
Entertainment, news, what's the difference? At the end of the day, what you consume is your own, it's what you want to consume. If I want to consume facts about what's going on across the country versus what's going on over in Isengard in Lord of the Rings, it doesn't really matter.
I love that.
That's just my thought. I don't know.
But I mean,
I would say it's up to the people to decide what they take in.
I think it's a
and
balance
how
of
to
both. I think it's a balance of both. I definitely want to stress
think there
that
should be more
people need to be more
responsibility.
responsibility for sure, but also people need to
do
be.
you think there should be a disclaimer? I mean, it's like saying this is like, I mean, for instance, if I watch Sean Hannity, I know this is not news.
That's
this
it.
This is his opinion. But I mean, on CNN, do they actually say that I'm whatever the hell, Don Lemon or whatever? This is not news.
No.
This is what I'm.
I think that should be incumbent upon the listener or the
So
viewer.
they shouldn't give any kind of disclaimer.
No, you should go into anything.
You should just kind of know. I feel like you should be intelligent enough to know.
Are they?
No, they're not.
I don't know.
But then
I don't know.
She asked, should we regulate? No. We'll get there eventually. We can't force this evolution. We can't force this enlightenment.
That's true. This
We're
is
gonna
the
get there. In 3 generations, think of what we've accomplished and what we will accomplish in 3 generations.
But I think
We're
AJ
gonna
and I
breed
agree
out
we're
this
going the
old
wrong
thought.
way. Kids are getting stupider and stupider, and it's not getting any
That's
better.
due to educational
opinion.
policies.
That's
due
opinion.
to well, no.
She's a teacher.
And there's evidence to back that up. I mean, I'm not gonna. I don't know the statistics to all that now, but there is evidence to back up that in the United States, especially the way our educational system is set.
Define stupid though. Is it a lack of knowledge,
I
a
don't wanna
lack
say
of
stupid.
wisdom?
Lack of knowledge, yes.
It's a lack of knowledge,
Not-
and
yeah.
it's an abundance of ignorance.
Well, the average 5-year-old these days is at leaps and bounds as smart as like a fucking 10-year-old from 20 years ago.
in some things, in some aspects.
Yeah, like computers.
Like you
and
can open up an iPad, but you can't wipe your own ass. You know what I mean?
You
Like
gotta be
those are things that happen. Like that's for real. Like the mobility of our body, of our mind, of our fucking appendages. Like they're shifting because we're not using things and doing. I'm not saying things should be the same and things should always we should always look back to the past and emulate it, but there is things to be said about like the way we attain information too. Like a child reading about an experience on the computer versus a child having that experience. It's 2 different things. The way you receive that information is different. You're educated in a different kind of way. You might come to the same conclusion maybe, but what got you there, the experience itself, is what shapes you differently. So I think that's the biggest issue, that and the standardization of education in the United States. So I mean, Facebook, I don't know about all of that.
But don't you think at this juncture, the most important, it's getting more and more important to be able to delve into all this stuff and discern what is bullshit and what is true, or at least my philosophy on what I think should be.
I think it's
and we're
fucked
getting
up
less and less of that in
I have to wait
education.
till they're 19 years old, 18 years
Right,
old,
she's
freshman
seen
in
college kids.
and then I have to teach them what's fake news and what's not. Like, you're already 18. Like, when I was already 18, I mean, my mentality was completely different. I was already very politically savvy and, like, just already well-educated. I mean, I was lucky. I had a private education, and I got more attention that way, and that's, that shaped, obviously, the way I am. But still, like, these 18-year-olds don't even know how to – some of them – I'm not saying all, but, like, many of them don't know how to think about the world critically. Or if they want to pull up news, they just pull up any bullshit article from Facebook. They don't take the time to look and to check and to think. I'm not saying that's a responsibility of Facebook.
I would say that's the newness of the medium of the internet.
Sure,
People haven't figured out how to responsibly make that a part of their life.
Yeah.
And again, I think eventually we'll get there. We will learn how to integrate.
Yeah.
It's still so new. You know what I mean?
It is. You're right. I mean, I grew up like half and half. Like, we didn't have a computer into my house until I was like 14. Sure. Before that, my mom used a typewriter. Like, that was normal. Mm-hmm. So and I'm 28 now, but like almost like half my life with internet and with like computerization of reality or whatever, and then also without. So there's a balance for me, and that's like our generation is kind of like that, right? Mm-hmm. The newer generations that come that are completely submerged in this type of world, hopefully we'll get, like you said, we'll accustom and we'll adapt and we'll be able to learn what works and what doesn't. It's still new, it's still fresh, but I do see right now it as more of a negative when it comes to education and knowledge.
I don't disagree.
Because they're not being taught,
Yeah.
as I'm saying, what basic logic and basic thought is.
They just pull up an article, and they just consume it.
May not
and
even
that's
read
the
that,
truth.
just a headline.
Yeah,
more than
exactly.
anything,
Even exactly. People
That's
just
all.
post.
Yeah.
I don't post things unless I read them, people will just look at the headline and post it, and it's like,
You guys ever
Why
seen
that's very
Idiocracy?
important.
yeah, and
I mean,
that's the world we live in today.
Yeah, I mean that's watch that movie. Yeah, we've talked about it before on the show. Watch Idiocracy. Have you seen that?
You've mentioned it a bunch of times.
You should watch it
yeah.
sometime. It's if we're not careful, we could go to that. I don't think we will. I think people, we might be slower than what people want, but if you look at the past couple thousand years, we're not going into darker ages as we go along. It's not really getting worse. We have down times where, there's civil rights problems and shit like that. There's little down spots. But if you think about it, life's getting better. People are getting better.
Yeah.
How do you define better, though?
Well, people are becoming more
Less
tolerant.
people being more people being tolerant, more people being fed, less disease.
How about more subservient? Less thought, the better you are. Sure.
I mean,
Okay, but I don't know about even better. Then
So
the
to say
children's
somebody is
health is
subservient-
worse than their parents now. That's not good. For the first time ever, the life expectancy is less.
Yeah. Children are
Generations, so I'm not sure about it's
lazy
getting
and
better.
overweight.
Right.
this goes right along with what I said. There's going to be little troughs, but in the whole of human civilization, it's not getting worse. Just give it time. Things will get quote unquote better. Whatever better is.
That's the
it's,
hope,
it's
right?
not getting worse.
With every generation, things are supposed to get better and
Right,
better.
we're breeding out the problems. You know what I mean?
Well,
The old way of
technology is
thought-
advancing. I agree. I'm not sure.
Well, there's
that,
mimetic evolution and all that stuff too, but
right.
I don't know. Mimetic evolution fits perfectly along with media too. But again, we're done with this for today. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Oh, let's fight some more.
I
I
really
thought it was fun.
enjoyed
I don't think
this.
there was any fighting.
I
You
had
guys
a good
had
time.
opposite
the worst
opinions,
part
but
was like people hating on me about the Israel thing, but whatever.
You're gonna get that here. You're gonna get that.
I know. It's okay. I'll
Bunch
accept
of-
it.
Trust me.
I'll take it. We can talk, y'all.
See,
I can
Eric's on the
critically think
Eric's
about it.
an anti-Israeler too.
I'm not
and he-
anti-Israel.
Oh,
Let's get this straight.
he's anti-Semitic is the
Oh,
problem.
okay.
Oh,
That's not
Just
true.
kidding.
Listen, and I want to clarify this.
he
before
had
I
his
get
shit
off.
for that for a long while though.
I'm not anti any human being. Okay, I'm anti-occupation.
We
I
know.
want people to live together in peace and harmony and
You don't
love.
want him to have a job?
And I don't want us to wage war on people based on religious reasons, like the Bible.
Well,
All right, bye.
all right.
All right, guys. Everybody,
Chris Bree
thanks for
still loves me.
thanks for tuning in today. Another good episode of Surreal Talk, in my opinion.
A long one.
Finally launching Rabbit Hole Radio next Monday. That's in the works now. So check out yoradio.com. Download the app.
Our new show will not be connected to this show, so this will be the only first and last time you hear about it, and you're not even going to hear about it.
Well, you never know.
When you guys come up with a title, they may hear about it.
Yeah, we don't even have a title yet. Anyway, thank you again for listening. Check out lineupmedia.fm for more podcasts. Yoradio.com for the best in online streaming. Other than that, we'll see you next week. Thanks again. Thanks, AJ, for coming on.
See you
Thanks,
guys.
Armand,
Thanks,
as always.
Armand, AJ.
Guys, love you.
We appreciate it.
All right, let's go outside.
Hey, thanks, everybody, for showing up today. Hopefully we'll be back next Wednesday.
Thank you.
And, not suck. See you guys later.